Chapter 966. Amidst the roars, a group of shadows arrived in the blink of an eye and surrounded Tang Zheng so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Looking up, there were countless ghost messengers of various heights. Moreover, almost all of them were ghost generals and ghost marshals. Evidently, even ordinary ghost messengers couldn't squeeze in. Tang Zheng's expression didn't change. He suppressed the waves in his heart and calmly looked at them. A living person. They all cried out in surprise and stared at Tang Zheng with shining eyes. Some even subconsciously licked the corners of their mouths and seemed to be on the verge of drooling. None of these fellows in hell are normal. They all want to eat me. Am I that popular? Tang Zheng mumbled unhappily. Catch him! With a loud roar, everyone rushed over and surrounded him from the front and back. Tang Zheng stabbed rapidly with his sword. Pu, pu, pu. The guy at the front immediately fell to the ground. They were all stabbed in the same place. From this, one could see how accurate Tang Zheng's attacks were. Small wounds were enough to end their lives. His skills are so strong. Everyone, let's work harder. This is an extremely beautiful delicacy. After eating him, our skills will definitely increase greatly. The team shouted excitedly. Tang Zheng smiled wryly, but his attacks were increasingly clean and ruthless. Pu, pu, pu. A few more heads flew up and died on the spot. Tang Zheng was caught in a chaotic battle. There were fierce attacks in front, left, and right. Which one was stronger? Reading on the phone, he was in dire straits and appeared to be in a somewhat sorry state. It wasn't that his skills were inferior to these guys, but that there were too many of them. Even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he couldn't handle them all. This won't do. This can't go on. Tang Zheng was anxious. With a single thought, the 4 symbols venerable appeared and swept his giant arms toward the enemies. Bang, bang, bang. Only the side of the pit near the wall had a staircase spiraling down. There was no foothold anywhere else, so those who were swept by the 4 symbols venerable fell down one after another. Moreover, the 4 symbols venerable was extraordinarily strong. Many of those who were swept by its arms died with their heads exploding. This flight of stairs was already very narrow to begin with, and with the presence of the 4 symbols venerable, it took up most of the space. It lifted its leg and stomped down viciously, trampling ghost generals into pieces. The appearance of the 4 symbols venerable attracted most of the attacks for Tang Zheng. It was incomparably ferocious, while Tang Zheng was ingenious. The two of them cooperated seamlessly. Stop them! Seeing this scene, the other party was also shocked, because they never thought that this would happen. The other party was at least a ghost general, so after experiencing the initial panic, their explosive combat power was also very shocking. Several ghost generals and ghost marshals leaped into the air and charged towards Tang Zheng and the 4 symbols venerable. However, they were mostly targeting the 4 symbols reverend. Obviously, they were very clear that the battle prowess of the 4 symbols venerable was stronger. As long as they could deal with this colossus, then Tang Zheng would be a piece of cake. Wave after wave of powerful attacks landed on the 4 symbols venerable, causing sparks to fly everywhere. However, the 4 symbols venerable remained completely unscathed. Looking at this scene, their eyes instantly widened. What exactly was this big guy? Why was it invulnerable to swords and spears? Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the 4 symbols venerable held the fort, then the pressure on him would be greatly reduced. War's soul in his hand exploded with a resplendent light. Wind rises and cloud surge, sword breaks 1,000 caddies, lightning fire sword, heaven falls and earth rends, return to simplicity, and transcendent flying immortal. Each of the incomparably fierce, transcendent flying immortal swordsmanship was displayed without restraint, causing the enemy to suffer a crushing defeat. I'll take you on. Suddenly, an angry roar rang out, and the enemies in front of him automatically parted, revealing a passage. A guy walked over with steady steps, taking large strides like a meteor. He was tall and burly, half a body taller than the other ghost marshals. At a glance, one could tell that he was not a good person. Moreover, he dragged a long chain in his hand, which made clanking sounds as it rubbed against the ground. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. He could clearly feel that the other party's strength was higher than the Ghost Marshals. This was a Ghost King that was even more powerful than the Ghost Marshals. Furthermore, he was a Ghost King that often fought in the 18 levels of hell. Tang Zheng did not retreat. Instead, he looked at him with a burning gaze. He knew that he had met a strong opponent. Whoosh! The Ghost King made the first move. With a flick of his wrist, the chain flew up from the ground and flew towards Tang Zheng. Clang! Tang Zheng anxiously raised his sword to block. Sparks blossomed in the air. Then, Tang Zheng tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and flew over horizontally. A sword came from the west, the heaven-flying immortal. The War Soul Sword exploded with an extremely large amount of energy, and the space in front of the Ghost King seemed to be split into two. The Ghost King glared angrily and let out a low roar. The long chain seemed to have eyes as it turned in the air and flew towards Tang Zheng's back like a poisonous snake. Tang Zheng did not even turn his head as he swung his sword backwards. The sound of something not being hit rang out. Ew! His heart trembled. This attack had actually missed. He thought to himself that something was wrong. As expected, he immediately felt his entire body tighten. The long chain had actually trapped him. In that instant, he felt as if his soul had been bound. This long chain was most likely a soul magic treasure. He struggled fiercely, but to no avail. Boom! A ball of dark blue flames rose from the long chain and quickly spread. The entire long chain was surrounded by flames, and the flames quickly spread towards Tang Zheng's body. In an instant, he had turned into a flaming man. The strange thing was that the flames were not hot. Instead, it was cold to the bone, causing one's teeth to chatter uncontrollably. The pure yang energy in Tang Zheng's body was already restless, but after being stimulated by this cold and gloomy aura, it actually calmed down a little. Tang Zheng was shocked. Could it be that there was purine energy in this cold and gloomy aura? Most of the purine energy only existed in the human body, such as women. Although yin qi and purine energy were both yin, they were completely different. Therefore, Tang Zheng found that there was purine energy in this long chain. He could not help but be surprised. He did not have time to delve into it. His heartstrings suddenly trembled, and his soul seemed to be squeezed, shrinking inward little by little. However, his body was not squeezed. His gaze pierced through the strange flames and immediately locked onto the long chain. He thought to himself, this long chain is a soul-type magic treasure, but it's very different from the soul-summoning chest from before. It doesn't attack by extracting the opponent's soul. Instead, it directly crushes the soul within the opponent's body. This can also kill people. He could not help but be secretly speechless. The opponent's means were strange and unexpected. Clearly experiencing the pressure on his soul, Tang Zheng opened his throat and let out a cry of pain, but he could not break free from the long chain. Moreover, he did not want to break free from the long chain immediately, because he could absorb the purine energy from it to balance the pure yang energy in his body. Otherwise, if he could not find any other purine energy in this ghost realm, then he would eventually be in danger of exploding and dying. Therefore, he was playing a dangerous game, seeking a balance between the purine energy and the soul attack. If the soul attack reached a limit, he would certainly have to give up the purine energy and find a way to escape. Looking at Tang Zheng screaming, the Ghost King laughed proudly. In this 18 layers of hell, you still want to escape from my soul-binding chain? You are really wishful thinking. This soul-binding chain was refined by me using the souls of 999 female ghosts. It is specially used to bind souls. 999 female ghosts? Tang Zheng's heartstrings trembled. It was really a vicious magic treasure, and the opponent was really too insidious to use this method to refine a magic treasure. As for the purine energy on it, Tang Zheng could guess a thing or two. It was probably carried by these female ghosts. It was just that the purine energy of female ghosts was very rare, and there was so much purine energy accumulated because there was enough of them. Since I have absorbed this purine energy, then I should avenge those 999 female ghosts and kill this guy. Tang Zheng made up his mind. Boom. Seeing that Tang Zheng was trapped, the four symbols venerable swept away the enemy in front of him with a move of total annihilation, then charged at Tang Zheng in an attempt to save him. Seeing this, the Ghost King waved his hand and said, "Stop it!" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, the Ghost Generals and Ghost Commanders charged at the four symbols Venerable without any regard for their lives. The four symbols Venerable had no choice but to stop and engage in a fierce battle with these guys. Venerable four symbols, don't worry. They can't hurt me for the time being. With a thought, Tang Zheng silently transmitted a message to the four symbols Venerable. The four symbols Venerable's artifact spirit had long since awakened, so he could communicate with Tang Zheng without any obstruction. Hearing his words, the four symbols Venerable's battle weakened a little, and he did not rush over in a hurry. Seeing this, the Ghost King thought that the four symbols Venerable was not strong enough and had been successfully stopped. Immediately, he was overjoyed and said, "Let's see how you resist now. Come, let me eat you. It's your honor." He suddenly pulled on the long chain, and Tang Zheng was suddenly brought flying towards him. He opened his mouth wide, as if he really wanted to swallow Tang Zheng in a single bite. Looking at the large mouth that emitted a fishy smell, Tang Zheng felt disgusted. Seeing that he was about to be bitten by that large mouth, Tang Zheng did not tire of struggling. He had absorbed almost all of the purine energy in the soul-binding chain, and the pure yang energy in his body was finally slightly pacified. Only then could he breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was not frightened by Qi Yu and did not allow him to seize control of his body. This was because no one would have thought that he would encounter purine energy in the 18 layers of hell. This was truly a coincidence. He did not have time to sigh at the fickle nature of fate. Looking at the large mouth that was inches away from him, Tang Zheng turned his wrist and aimed it at the Ghost King. Although he could not move, he could still move parts of his body with some difficulty. When his palm was aimed at the Ghost King, Tang Zheng hurriedly activated the sky-devouring technique. Whoosh whoosh. A black hole silently appeared in front of him. Everyone was shocked. A pitch-black hole appeared out of nowhere. Even if they were knowledgeable, they had never heard of such a thing. Soul-devouring. Tang Zheng roared, and the sky-devouring technique's powerful effects were displayed. Chapter 967. The Ghost King staggered back. With every step he took, a large hole appeared on the ground, and the cracks quickly spread with his footsteps. From this, it could be seen how flustered he was. Actually, the main reason was that this soul-devouring technique was too fatal to him. Although he tried his best to resist, he still felt like he was about to be sucked into the black hole. Seeing that he was still able to retreat, Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "You want to escape? You may not be underestimating me." He was like a shadow, although he was still bound by the soul-binding chain, but he lightly tapped his foot and quickly caught up and slapped the Ghost King's body. The Ghost King looked at the hand imprinted on his chest in disbelief, and his whole body trembled. A black light flashed before he could scream. He turned into a wisp of black smoke and was sucked into the black hole. This scene made the others turn pale with fright, and they subconsciously forgot to move. They never thought that there would be a technique that specifically targeted them. This was more powerful than the attacks of other magical weapons. After all, their main body was a ghost, although after cultivating, there would be a huge difference between them and other wandering ghosts, but their essence did not change. In fact, after the members of the ghost realm cultivated, they did not have the same physical body as humans, although they also had a physical body, but in the end, they were still ghosts. This soul-devouring technique specifically targeted souls. It was simply their nemesis. Tang Zheng had experienced it before, so he was not surprised. Seeing the Ghost King disappear, his body relaxed, and the soul-binding chain automatically loosened. Because the Ghost King was dead, this magical weapon became an ownerless object, and the attack naturally collapsed. The pure yang energy in Tang Zheng's body also calmed down a little, so he did not immediately explode and die. Therefore, he hurriedly kept the soul-binding chains into the Sumeru world, and with a fierce glare, he stared at the other ghost generals and ghost commanders. Seeing the Ghost King mysteriously die in Tang Zheng's hands, these guys' heartstrings trembled. But they did not retreat. Looking at each other, their eyes emitted a blue light and shouted, "Eat him!" Immediately, this group of guys crazily rushed over. Tang Jing secretly sighed. Since you voluntarily came to die, then don't blame me. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook under their footsteps, and the originally spider-web-like cracks quickly spread. Gotcha! The ground completely split open, and everyone screamed. One after another, they discovered that they were actually free-falling. The four symbols' Venerable's huge body also fell down. For Venerable, go in. Tang Zheng would not just watch as it disappeared into the darkness below. With a thought, he kept it into the Sumeru world, and his body also fell rapidly. Seeing that the other party's fighting strength had been disintegrated, Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. He did not use the sun-shooting arrow again, but instead activated the sky-swallowing technique. A huge black hole immediately appeared, and with a flash of his body, the black hole followed him like a shadow, immediately devouring all the ghosts that he passed by. The name of Soul Devourer was definitely well-deserved. Immediately, the few remaining enemies finally retreated. They had persisted for so long without hesitation, and finally knew how to retreat for the first time. If the other members of the Ghost Realm saw this scene, they would definitely be shocked. After all, this kind of thing was not something an ordinary person could do. Tang Zheng flew towards the other party on his sword. With a whoosh, the other party immediately turned around and ran, rushing downwards. Where do you think you're going? Tang Zheng bellowed. These guys wanted to eat him. How could he let them go? He immediately chased after them on his sword. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One after the other, the two parties engaged in a chase, but Tang Zheng's speed was faster. Just as he was about to catch up, a fishy smell came from below. Tang Zheng was shocked and subconsciously stopped in his tracks. He found that the dark abyss had actually reached the bottom. Just now, he took a glance and found that from top to bottom, there were 17 levels. The bottom level was the 18th, the last level of the 18 levels of hell. Without a doubt, this last level was the most dangerous and terrifying. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless and looked down warily. The few ghost marshals rushed down and disappeared without a trace. Gurgle, gurgle. A series of strange sounds rang out, and Tang Zheng's nerves suddenly tensed up. A ball of true fire appeared at the tip of his finger, illuminating the surroundings. The yin qi here was very thick as seawater. The area illuminated by the flames was very limited, so Tang Zheng could only vaguely see the situation below. But just this little bit was enough to make his hair stand on end. Below them was a huge pool. The water in the pool was as black as ink, and the bubbling sounds were the bubbles rising from the pool. After the bubbles burst, they turned into a ghostly face. Furthermore, there were countless ghosts rolling around in the pool. Their expressions were ferocious, and they were terrifying to look at. What the hell is this? Tang Zheng felt a chill down his spine. His intuition told him that this place was even more terrifying. Although there was nothing to attack him, this was just the calm before the storm. As if to prove his words, the bubbles rose faster and faster, more and more. Soon, they filled the entire pool. Ferocious ghost faces gradually flew up, turning into a bloody mouth and biting down on Tang Zheng's head. The mouth could almost completely envelop Tang Zheng. He hurriedly raised the holy armor shield. With a crack, the bloody mouth bit down on the holy armor shield, producing an ear-piercing sound. The holy armor shield glowed, blocking the attack. Tang Zheng took the opportunity to use the sky-swallowing technique. A black hole appeared, and a small part of the ghost face was immediately torn and sucked into the black hole. Roar! The ghost face immediately let out a series of angry roars. More and more bubbles appeared in the pool. Gurgle, gurgle, as if the water was boiling. After the bubbles burst, the ghost face immediately repaired the damaged ghost face, and then bit down on Tang Zheng again. Tang Zheng was sure that the sky-swallowing technique could deal with this ghost face, so he didn't use the holy armor shield to block it. Instead, he waved his hands forward, and a huge black hole appeared out of thin air, coincidentally facing the ghost face. The soul-devouring effect suddenly appeared, and a huge force tore apart half of the ghost face. This attack was even more ferocious than before, and the ghost face also suffered more serious injuries. It didn't have time to repair itself before it was enveloped by an even stronger suction force. The ghost face struggled fiercely, but found that it was useless. It couldn't escape from the black hole at all. You still want to run? Go in for me. Tang Zheng gave a loud roar and quickly activated his martial arts, causing a surge of suction force to fiercely pull Ghostface Mask into the black hole. Everything returned to normal, but the bubbles in the pool continued to churn as if they were brewing something. Tang Zheng's body tensed up. This Ghostface was fierce, but it was far from being as powerful as he had imagined. This meant that there was definitely more danger waiting for him. Just as he was going all out and accumulating his power, he suddenly saw a figure in the darkness. There was a figure sitting in the shadows of the pool. He was bald, sitting cross-legged with his palms together, but his face couldn't be seen clearly. This made Tang Zheng shocked. This scene was completely out of place with the surroundings. What was going on? Who was he? Tang Zheng stared straight at him and found that he had a solemn appearance. Although he couldn't see his face clearly, he gave off a very calm and peaceful feeling, as if he could instantly calm people down. Moreover, his lips opened and closed, as if he was chanting something. Chapter 968. Tang Zheng looked at the other party in shock. If the scripture had such a huge magical power, it was enough to show how powerful the other party was. Could it be that he was the Dizong of Goguryeo that the other ghost messengers were so afraid of? Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide and carefully looked at the other party. Only then did he realize that the other party was very similar to the monks in the temples. He wore a kasaya, had a shaved head, and had a solemn appearance, just like an eminent monk. But compared to those so-called eminent monks in the world, there was no comparison at all. The difference was like the difference between an ant and a tree. What scripture is he reciting? I've never heard of it before. Tang Zheng frowned suspiciously. He used to be a top student and read a lot of books. He even dabbled in scriptures, but the scripture that was being recited by the Dizong of Goguryeo was something he had never heard of before. When the scripture came out of his mouth, a mysterious and unfathomable power accompanied it and surrounded his body. When the sinister ghost faces in the pool touched his body, they immediately became very peaceful, without a trace of malevolence. Then, the ghost faces flashed and disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. His intuition told him that the scripture must have had an effect on the ghost faces, but he was still unable to determine the specific effect. He didn't know that it was the ghost faces that were being purified. Every ghost face was a ghost, and when they were purified, they left the 9 Serenities hell. The Dizong of Goguryeo seemed to be tireless and kept reciting the scripture. The originally tumbling pool gradually calmed down. The ghost faces seemed to have met their nemesis and dived back into the pool, disappearing without a trace. All of this happened too fast, causing Tang Zheng to be at a loss for a moment. He could only stare blankly at the Dizong of Goguryeo. Suddenly, the Dizong of Goguryeo turned his head. Tang Zheng saw the Dizong of Goguryeo's bright eyes at a glance. What kind of eyes were those? Tang Zheng had never seen such eyes before. His heartstrings trembled as all sorts of feelings welled up in his heart. There was not a trace of ruthlessness in those eyes, but they were not completely unperturbed either. Instead, they were filled with benevolence, as if they could melt a person's heart with just a glance. This is too amazing. For a long time, Tang Zheng was unwilling to shift his gaze away. In the other party's eyes, he could find a long-lost peace. It made his heart as still as water, and his mind wandered beyond the heavens. When the Dizong of Goguryeo saw Tang Zheng, he was not as surprised as the other ghosts when they saw him. Instead, he was calm and composed, and there was not even a trace of fluctuation in his eyes. This calmness made Tang Zheng's expression turn solemn. He cupped his hands slightly toward Dizong of Goguryeo and said, "May I ask if your excellency is Dizong of Goguryeo?" The Dizong of Goguryeo did not nod or shake his head. He only lightly said, "A name is just a code. I have been waiting for you here for a long time." This answer was a disguised admission that he was the Dizong of Goguryeo. "What? You were waiting for me?" Tang Zheng was shocked. He had never seen the other party before, so why would he wait for him? He quickly collected his thoughts and said, "You and I have never met before. How did you know that I was the one you were waiting for?" "Because I saw you in a dream." "In a dream?" Tang Zheng grinned. This statement was too mysterious, and he did not dare to believe it completely. As if he knew what Tang Zheng was thinking, the Dizang of Goguryeo explained, the 3,000 great dreams. You can also comprehend the Tao in dreams, and you appeared in my dream. This is the will of the heavens for you and me to meet. Tang Zheng was confused. How was this related to the heavens again? He was very clear that the heavens was a great Tao that operated in the universe. As for what the heavens were, no one could say for sure. This time, the Dizang of Goguryeo actually said that the heavens wanted them to meet. How could Tang Zheng remain calm? Why did the heavens want us to meet? Tang Zheng could not help but ask. I am unable to completely guess the will of the heavens, but since you and I have met, there must be a reason. The Dizang of Goguryeo slowly said. His voice was very gentle, like the morning bell and evening drum. Hearing this, Tang Zheng's brows furrowed even tighter. Why did you come to the 18 levels of hell? The Dizang of Goguryeo asked. Tang Zheng could not figure out what the heavens wanted to do. After listening to his question, Tang Zheng had a thought and hesitated whether to tell the truth. But when he saw the other's eyes that were as clear as a mirror, the thought of deceiving flashed through his mind. In the end, he told the truth. I came to explore the true purpose of the 10 kings of hell in the ghost realm. Oh, about what purpose? In fact, what he did was harming the ghost realm, but the Dizang of Goguryeo had an aura that made him trust, which made him subconsciously blurt out, I want to know how the ghost realm is going to deal with the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life has reappeared in the world? The Dizang of Goguryeo raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. It was enough to make him so surprised, which showed the importance of the Tree of Life. Yes. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva closed his eyes and muttered to himself, the cycle of the heavenly axiom. Could this be the will of the heavenly axiom? Everything that they did in the past is now returned to them? Tang Zheng's heart moved. It seemed that the Dizang of Goguryeo's words had a deeper meaning. May I ask what happened in the past? The Dizang of Goguryeo did not answer, but opened his eyes, stared at Tang Zheng, and asked, Your human world is using the Tree of Life to absorb the original energy of the ghost realm, right? What? Tang Zheng was shocked. How did you know? Did the 10 kings of hell tell you? This is the most terrifying place in the ghost realm. No one else would be willing to come here. The Dizang of Goguryeo said, Then how did you know about this? Because this is what you will definitely do. The human world was downgraded from a big world to a small world. You will definitely find ways to become a big world again. And the only way is to absorb the original energy of the ghost realm, plus the reappearance of the Tree of Life in the human world. Everything will happen naturally. So naturally, it is not difficult to guess the result. Although the Dizang of Goguryeo's words were understated, but these words deeply shocked Tang Zheng. This was a true master, able to infer the correct answer through clues. Immediately, he was on guard. Since the other party had guessed all of this, would the Dizang of Goguryeo, as a member of the ghost realm, stop him? He was still delusional to find out the plan of the 10 kings of hell from him. It seemed like he was looking for fish from a tree. The Dizang of Goguryeo's eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He glanced at Tang Zheng without leaving a trace and said, You don't have to worry about what I will do to you. I have never killed a living creature in my life. Although you are a person of the human world, I will still not kill you. Tang Zheng did not dare to relax. The members of the ghost realm were not ordinary people, and the Dizang of Goguryeo was an existence that the other members were so afraid of. What if he was a very cunning person? Many things in this world were deceptive. Although the other party did make Tang Zheng relax, there was always a trace of vigilance in his heart. The Dizang of Goguryeo also saw Tang Zheng's vigilance, but he ignored it and continued to say, Although I am a member of the ghost realm, I do not agree with what they did in the past, since it is the will of the heavenly axiom for us to meet. It means that I will not stop what you do. Tang Zheng moved his head. Seeing that he mentioned the past again, he did not give up and asked, What happened in the past? The ghost realm also absorbed the original energy of your human world, so it can be promoted to a big world. This time, the Dizang of Goguryeo did not hide and told him the truth. Sure enough, Tang Zheng had already guessed a little, and when he got confirmation, he nodded with a sullen face. Since all of this was taken away by the ghost realm, then it is reasonable for me to take it back, right? Of course. The Dezong of Goguryeo nodded. This hurts the ghost realm. Will you turn a blind eye? The Dezong of Goguryeo pondered and said, since it is the will of the heavenly axiom, I will naturally follow the will. After a slight pause, he said, however, the ghost realm and the human world are interdependent. If you use the tree of life to absorb too much of the original energy of the ghost realm, it is not a good thing. Oh, why? The Dezong of Goguryeo looked at him and said, it seems that you don't know the details. Maybe the heavenly axiom wants us to meet because of this consideration. If you keep absorbing the original energy of the ghost realm will eventually be destroyed. Then where will the souls of the people in the human world go after they die? Tang Zheng only wanted to promote the human world to a big world, but he never thought about this problem, so he was stumped for a moment. Seeing that he could not answer, the Dezong of Goguryeo said, the heavenly axiom wants to avoid the worst situation. What situation? The ghost realm and the human world fought each other, and finally both died. Back then, the ghost realm absorbed the original energy of the human world, which destined the two worlds to fight. Yes, so now it is time to return it. But will the 10 kings of hell agree? No. The Dezong of Goguryeo shook his head. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. He did not expect his answer to be so straightforward. Since they can't agree, then the fight between the two worlds will definitely escalate, and it will be in full swing. This is not something that a single person can control. If you haven't tried, how do you know it won't work? The Dezong of Goguryeo asked. You want to persuade the 10 kings of hell? Tang Zheng was shocked. The Dezong of Goguryeo was not in a hurry to answer, but fell into deep thought. Obviously, this was a very difficult thing for him to do. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to ask. This was not a small problem for the Dezong of Goguryeo, so he could wait. After a long time, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva raised his head and said, I once swore that as long as hell was not empty, I would not become a Buddha. Now that hell is not empty, I have to leave. What do you mean? With regards to this oath, Tang Zheng was also confused. When he heard that he was going to leave, he was even more confused about his routine. The Dezong of Goguryeo looked at him and said, Before he could finish, the air in front of him fluctuated violently, and in a short while, it turned into a door, and a figure with a feather fan and a silk headband strode out of the door. The door quickly disappeared again. If it was not for the living person standing in front of him, he would have thought that it was an illusion. Tang Zheng felt a chill in his heart because he felt a familiar aura from the other party, the aura of the King of Hell. In the past, he had fought with the Chakravarti King and the King of Hell, so he was very familiar with this aura, and the one in front of him was probably one of the 10 kings of hell. The Yama seal was connected to the 18 levels of hell. When Song Jiangwang cast a spell and entered the 18 levels of hell through the Yama seal, the first thing that came into sight was Tang Zheng. Chapter 969. After seeing Tang Zheng, Song Jiangwang's eyes widened and he staggered backward. He thought that he had come to the wrong place. This was the 18th level of hell. How could there be a living person? Moreover, there shouldn't be living people in the world of spirits and souls. But when he turned his gaze and saw Dezong of Goguryeo, he was sure that he hadn't come to the wrong place. But immediately, he was even more confused. He stared straight at Tang Zheng and asked, Who are you? Hey, why do you look a little familiar? Tang Zheng's head moved. He had never seen him before. Why would he find him familiar? Before Tang Zheng could ask the question in his heart, Song Jiangwang exclaimed again and stared at Tang Zheng incredulously. You are that person. The person who guards the tree of life. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. How did he recognize me? At that time, he didn't appear in the human world. Could it be that vortex? His guess was right. Although the 10 kings of hell hadn't arrived in the human world, the vortex was equivalent to their eyes. They had seen the battle below clearly. Not only him, but even the Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi were seen clearly by them. The last time Tang Zheng came to the world of spirits and souls, he used illusion to disguise himself. In the hearts of the King of Hell and the King of Chakravarti, he had already sunk into the river Styx and died long ago. So even if they saw Tang Zheng's true face from the vortex, they didn't recognize him. However, the 10 kings of hell remembered Tang Zheng's face. Song Jianguang didn't recognize him at once, mainly because he didn't expect him to be in the 9th level of hell. Now that he recognized him, he was really shocked and angry. This living person actually came to the world of spirits and souls, and even came to the 9th level of hell. Most importantly, he was safe and sound. This was beyond his common sense. Since he was recognized, Tang Zheng became extra careful and ready to attack. He asked cautiously, "Which one of the 10 kings of hell are you?" "He is Song Jianguang." Dizong of Goguryeo suddenly spoke. Only then did Song Jianguang realize that Tang Jing and Dizong of Goguryeo did not make a big fuss. This was beyond common sense. Therefore, he looked at both parties thoughtfully. "Song Jianguang, I'll remember that." Tang Jing nodded. He was not familiar with the 10 kings of hell at all, so he did not know how powerful Song Jianguang was. However, he did not dare to underestimate him. Last time, he had been chased by King Yanluo and the Cakravarti king to the point that he could only flee. If not for the protection of the 4 divine beasts, he would have long lost his life in the ghost world. From this, one could see how powerful the 10 kings of hell were. "You've got some guts. How dare you come to the world of spirits and souls? What is your ulterior motive?" Song Jianguang scolded sternly, but he glanced at Dizong of Goguryeo from the corner of his eyes. Song Jianguang was wise and resourceful, but he was suspicious by nature. He did not trust anyone but himself. Therefore, when he saw that Tang Jing and Dizong of Goguryeo were safe and sound, he became suspicious. Could it be that this person was in cahoots with Dizong of Goguryeo? Otherwise, how could he explain why he came to the world of spirits and souls and ended up in the 9th level of hell for no reason? If he did not have the guidance of an expert, how could he have done this? Moreover, there was the ghost labyrinth set up by Dizong of Goguryeo outside. It was not something that could be broken in by any ordinary person. All in all of this was strange and could not be explained by common sense. Song Jianguang was good at concocting conspiracies. Naturally, he thought that all of this was a conspiracy. He couldn't help but rejoice that he had come to the 9 Serenities hell. Otherwise, who knew what the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was plotting with this person? At that time, the 10 kings of hell would be caught unprepared. This Dizong of Goguryeo seemed to have been enlightened. He even knew to join forces with humans. Could it be that he had misjudged him? Song Jianguang's thoughts turned thousands of times, and his gaze wandered. Seeing him like this, Tang Jing said fearlessly, "Why would I tell you my purpose for coming here? How dare you? In the world of spirits and souls, you still dare to be so arrogant. Could it be that you have something to rely on?" Song Jianguang said firmly. Tang Jing raised the corner of his mouth and said, "What do I need to rely on? I don't need anything." "Is that so?" Song Jianguang was skeptical. In his heart, he had already determined that Tang Zheng was the Dizong of Goguryeo's accomplice. Naturally, he would not believe these words. He turned around and said to the Dizong of Goguryeo, "Dizong of Goguryeo, this person is from the human world. He is our enemy. What business does he have here?" Since he could not get anything out of Tang Zheng, he turned his attention to the Dizong of Goguryeo. The Dizong of Goguryeo raised his eyes and looked at Song Jianguang without sadness or joy. He said, "You know better than me why he is here." "What do I know? The cause that you sowed back then is the fruit that you bear today." "Cause and effect?" "Yes." Song Jianguang's heart skipped a beat as he stared at the Dizong of Goguryeo. The cause that he sowed back then, could it be that he used the 9 underworld lightning to kill the tree of life, and then took the opportunity to absorb the original energy of the human world? This action was actually instigated by him. Song Jianguang was too smart. From an ancient book, he discovered the difference between a large world and a small world. He also understood that the small world was in danger of being destroyed at any time. Therefore, he encouraged the 10 kings of hell to take the opportunity to destroy the tree of life. At that time, he was not one of the 10 kings of hell. It was because of this incident that his prestige rose, and he became one of the 10 kings of hell. In fact, their action of using the 9 underworld lightning to kill the tree of life could be said to be huge. At that time, human cultivators were still in this world. but they knew very little about the Tree of Life. Basically, no one knew the use of the Tree of Life. They were careless and gave the Ghost Realm an opportunity. The 9 underworld lightnings successfully killed the Tree of Life. The original energy of the human world collapsed, and the spiritual energy gradually became thin. The Ghost Realm took the opportunity to use the 9 underworld eye to absorb the original energy of the human world and quietly advanced to a large world. However, the Ghost Realm did pay a price. The 9 underworld hell in front of them was the aftermath. In fact, the 9 underworld used to be a paradise in the Ghost Realm. It was a holy land for cultivation. Because of the existence of the 9 underworld eye, the Een energy here was rich and cultivation was twice the result with half the effort. It was a place that many members of the Ghost Realm flocked to. However, ever since they used the 9 underworld eye to absorb the original energy of the human world, the 9 underworld changed. The Een energy was mixed with a lot of evil energy. Once it was absorbed into the body, it would lose itself and eventually become a machine that only knew how to kill. The 10 kings of hell were forced to stop the plan to absorb the original energy of the human world. In fact, according to their original plan, they wanted to use the 9 underworld eye to absorb the original energy of the human world completely. This way, the Ghost Realm could become stronger. However, things did not go according to their wishes. The 9 underworld had undergone earth-shaking changes. All the members of the Ghost Realm nearby had mutated. Among them, the most famous one was one of the 10 kings of hell. He also mutated and was forced to be sealed in the 9 underworld. As a result, there was a vacancy in the position of king of hell. Only then did Song Jianguang have the opportunity to fill the vacancy. Since then, the 9 underworld was crowned with the name of hell. It meant that the most terrifying place in the Ghost Realm had become the 9 underworld hell. As for the 9 underworld eye, it became the 18 layers of hell that they were currently in. At the mention of karma, scenes of the past flashed through Song Jianguang's mind. A ferocious glint flashed across his eyes as he said, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, the theory of karma is just your own words. Dizong of Goguryeo was not angry. He just shook his head gently. The truth is right in front of you. Do you still not believe it? I only trust the power in my hands. Song Jianguang's palm flicked open. The Yama's seal in his hand began to spin, flickering with a dim light. Although he said so, he could not help but feel nervous. Originally, he wanted to ask the Dizong of Goguryeo to come out of seclusion. Once the Tree of Life was destroyed, he would think of ways to sow discord between the relationship between the Dizong of Goguryeo and the King of Hell. He did not believe that with his intelligence and wisdom, he would not be able to sow discord between the two sides. At that time, he would sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, then reap the benefits. The vast Ghost Realm would be in his pocket. His wishful thinking could not be said to be not good, but he did not expect that Tang Zheng would suddenly appear out of nowhere. He still could not figure out the relationship between Tang Zheng and the Dizong of Goguryeo. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he kept probing. He was ready to use a trick again. He wanted to tie down the Dizong of Goguryeo first, then he would have a chance to make a move. Otherwise, he did not have the ability to make a move in front of the Dizong of Goguryeo. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, this person is a public enemy of the ghost world. He should be punished. I'll bring him back for interrogation. I'll take my leave first. King Song Jiang probed hypocritically. Unexpectedly, the Dizong of Goguryeo did not give him face at all. He asked directly, he is with me. Can you take him away? This sentence seemed to be plain, but it was full of protection. Song Jianguang's heart trembled, and he said, Dizong of Goguryeo, you may not have heard my words clearly. He is the public enemy of the Ghost Realm. Not only me, but the other 9 kings of hell also want to punish him. This is not my idea alone. He used the names of the other kings of hell in an attempt to scare the Dizong of Goguryeo. After all, although the Dizong of Goguryeo was powerful, he still had to take into account the illustrious reputation of the 10 kings of hell. The Dizong of Goguryeo already had an idea in his heart. Moreover, there was that mysterious and unpredictable heavenly decree. Of course, he would not just watch as Tang Zheng was taken away. He said, the 10 kings of hell's reputation is so great. I don't care about worldly affairs, but that does not mean I will be bullied for everything. Back then, you tricked me into coming to the Nine Serenities hell. I haven't settled this debt with you yet." Song Jiangwang's expression turned ugly. He did not expect the Dizong of Goguryeo to have seen through his scheme back then. However, Song Jiangwang was a veteran of hundreds of battles. He immediately regained his composure and said bitterly, "Dizong of Goguryeo, everything that happened back then was the King of Hell's idea. At that time, I had just become the King of Hell and did not have any prestige at all. I could not compete with the other kings of Hell, let alone go against the King of Hell's decree. Therefore, the main culprit who trapped you here was the King of Hell, and not me. I tried to persuade him many times, but it was useless." The Dizong of Goguryeo looked at him with neither joy nor sorrow. This gaze made Song Jiangwang's heart beat like a drum. However, he still held it in and did not look away. He pretended to be magnanimous as he looked at the Dizong of Goguryeo. Tang Zheng did not expect the Dizong of Goguryeo to be so righteous and protect him like this. However, when he saw that Song Jiangwang did not put him in his eyes at all, the anger in his heart rose bit by bit. "I'm not a soft persimmon that you can pinch as you please." Chapter 970. Tang Zheng took a step forward with his sword, blocking Song Jiangwang's line of sight. Song Jiangwang was startled and said, "What? You still dare to clamor with me?" Tang Zheng sneered. "Song Jiangwang, do you really think that you can casually control me by looking down on me like this? Isn't that so?" Song Jiangwang asked back, looking at Tang Zheng in ridicule. "Then you'll know once you try." Dizong of Goguryeo also seemed to want to know Tang Zheng's strength, and looked at Tang Zheng meaningfully, but did not interrupt. Seeing that Dizong of Goguryeo did not say a word, Song Jiangwang's expression changed rapidly. It was thought-provoking, and thought to himself that the relationship between Dizong of Goguryeo and this living person seemed to be somewhat strange. Since Dizong of Goguryeo did not object, wouldn't that be exactly what he wanted? "Since you don't know what's good for you, then I'll fulfill your wish," Song Jiangwang said with killing intent. His figure flashed and attacked Tang Zheng. Good timing. Tang Zheng gave a low roar. The heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrow appeared in his hands. With a flash of the arrow, the shooting sun arrow flew towards Song Jiangwang. Song Jiangwang's face was filled with shock. This was because when the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrow were displayed, he could tell that they were not ordinary. He immediately thought of a rumor that he had heard before. Back then, a human expert had appeared in Yama Palace and also used a bow and arrow. He had even left an arrow in Yama King's hands and kept it like a treasure. But later on, this person fell into the river Styx and died. Now, another archer had appeared, and he could also freely walk in the ghost realm. Could it be that there was a connection between the two of them? Before he could think about it carefully, the shooting sun arrow had already arrived in front of him. The yin qi in the 18 levels of hell was as viscous as the seawater, surging towards Song Jiangwang like a tidal wave, enveloping him in an instant. Song Jiangwang extended his hand, and the Yama seal descended from the sky, colliding with the shooting sun arrow. The surging yin qi directly rushed towards the pool below. Boom! The water vapor splashed the black water all over the sky, like an angry dragon flying towards both sides. Two rays of light blossomed on the two people's bodies. The black water fell on the light rays and made a sizzling sound, but it did not hurt the two people at all. Dizong of Goguryeo sat in the middle of the pool. The waves were turbulent, but they did not harm him in the slightest. Moreover, his eyes were filled with interest as he watched the battle between the two. The battle was extremely intense. Waves of energy flew everywhere, and the 18 layers of hell seemed to have changed completely. The heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows released a huge amount of power, and the Yama seal was not to be underestimated either. Tang Zheng was almost certain that this Yama seal was a divine weapon that was even more powerful than the King of Hell's seal of the Chakravarti King. It was on par with the King of Hell's seal. In addition, Song Jiangwang's cultivation was at least at the semi-god realm. Therefore, even though Tang Zheng had the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows, he was still unable to defeat him. However, Dizong of Goguryu's eyes became brighter and brighter, because Tang Zheng's fighting strength had already far exceeded his expectations. The heavenly Tao did not lie to him, and attracted such a strong human expert. Tang Zheng was not too surprised. After all, he had seen the power of the King of Hell, so he already had a preliminary estimate. Just as he was about to summon the four symbols venerable to deal with Song Jiangwang, a monstrous black wave suddenly rose up and struck towards the two of them. The appearance of this black wave was extremely sudden and inexplicable, causing Tang Zheng and Song Jiangwang to not be able to defend against it. As a result, the black wave directly drenched their heads. Sizzle immediately, a series of sounds like roasting meat rang out. Tang Zheng cried out in pain, and actually felt a burning pain. Looking down, he discovered that the places where the black wave had touched had turned fiery red, and his skin was festering. This scene gave him a fright, and he immediately channeled his energy, trying to resist the black waves. However, the black wave was extremely ferocious, and was actually not afraid of Tang Zheng's innate qi. Like a spark of fire, it instantly spread to more parts of Tang Zheng's skin. On the other side, Song Jiangwang also jumped up. He did not care about Tang Zheng at all, and quickly channeled his energy. A black light rose from his body, and the black waves gradually disappeared without a trace. It was obvious that his condition was much better than Tang Zheng's. What's going on? Tang Zheng looked at all of this in disbelief. Song Jiangwang took a deep breath and sneered, "Ha ha, the heavens are helping me. Do you think that the things in the 18 levels of hell are so simple? Not only is this black wave fatal to the members of the world of spirits and souls, but it is also absolutely lethal to you humans. Your skin will completely fester, and in the end, you will become a ghost. When that time comes, let's see how you can still be so arrogant." If Tang Zheng became a ghost and lost his physical body, his strength would definitely drop from the sky to the ground. When that time came, how could he be Song Jiangwang's opponent? He did not expect that the stinky black wave would be so lethal, and his heart trembled. He did not think that Song Jiangwang was lying to him. This was definitely true. Seeing his expression become so ugly, Song Jiangwang was even more pleased, and said jokingly, "Don't waste your energy. Your innate qi cannot resist the black wave. It is mixed with the most sinister yin qi in the world of spirits and souls, and its lethality is fatal." Tang Zheng coldly snorted, resisting the pain, and said, "I'm not scared. It's not that easy to take my life." Seeing that Song Jiangwang could easily resist the black wave, he did not believe that he had no way at all. However, he did not know that this black wave was most effective against the real body of a person, and was even more effective than against a ghost. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Tang Zheng's ears, and it was like the sound of nature. The irritation in his heart immediately disappeared, and the pain in his body suddenly stopped. As for the injuries on his body, they were miraculously healed. Seeing this scene, not only Tang Zheng, but even Song Jiangwang was dumbfounded. This was because Song Jiangwang had never seen the Dizong of Goguryu's magic. The Dizong of Goguryu had been in the 9 levels of hell for hundreds of years, and no one had ever seen him. Naturally, they did not understand his situation. Today, seeing him, Song Jiangwang found that the Dizong of Goguryu was even more unfathomable. He could not guess how deep the cultivation of the Dizong of Goguryu was. "What kind of magic is this?" Song Jiangwang asked. The Dizong of Goguryu raised his eyes and lightly glanced at him, saying, "The Ksitigarbha Sutra. I have been here for hundreds of years, and it is a set of scriptures that I have comprehended. How does it feel? How does it feel? This feeling is very shocking. Do you know?" Song Jiangwang's heart was screaming. "The Ksitigarbha Sutra is very effective against the ghosts here. I believe that before long, I will be able to make the underworld empty, and the 9 levels of hell will no longer exist." The Dizong of Goguryu said confidently. Song Jiangwang had never seen the Dizong of Goguryu boast before. Since he said so, then he must be very confident. The Ksitigarbha Sutra could speed up the Dizong of Goguryu's conversion of the ghosts here. This set of scriptures was simply heaven-defying. From the fact that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was able to heal Tang Zheng's injuries with just a few simple lines of scripture, One could see how powerful he was. When Tang Zheng thought of the scriptures that the Dizang of Goguryeo spoke of before, he was deeply shocked. He could not help but admire the Dizang of Goguryeo. To be able to comprehend the great Tao and comprehend this kind of Ksitigarbha Sutra out of nothing, this was a true almighty ability. Although many people were powerful, they could only inherit and carry forward other people's cultivation methods. They could comprehend a new set of cultivation methods on their own. This was what made them powerful. The current Tang Zheng could not compare to them, but he was looking forward to it. If he could have such achievements one day, then his life would not have been in vain. The cultivation methods that he cultivated were very complicated. The ancient clear heaven scroll and the dragon god's secret art were the foundation. The others, such as the 9 revolutions Vajra technique, the heaven swallowing technique, the heaven flying immortal sword art, and so on, were all learned from others. Therefore, he still had a very long way to go on the road of cultivation. Of course, not every cultivator or martial artist could have the opportunity and ability to create a first-rate cultivation method, but if they could do this, then they would be famous throughout the ages. Dizang of Goguryeo, then it seems that I have to congratulate you, Song Jiangwang said insincerely. Dizang of Goguryeo's expression did not change. He was as motionless as a mountain, making Song Jiangwang completely unable to guess his thoughts. Since the Dizang of Goguryeo had made his move, then should he fight or retreat? If he retreated, then his plan would be for naught. But if he continued to fight, with the Dizang of Goguryeo, how could he have any chance of winning? Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound interrupted his thoughts. He saw a huge wave rise up in the pool. The pool water bubbled, and one after another, ghost faces appeared on the surface of the pool. What's going on? Song Jiangwang shouted in shock. Dizang of Goguryeo's expression instantly became serious. Seeing his reaction, even Tang Zheng's head sank. After all, the Dizang of Goguryeo's expression did not change. He was neither sad nor happy. This change was definitely not a good thing. As expected, the Dizang of Goguryeo said in a deep voice, "You've been accumulating power for so many years. Are you finally going to come out?" Hearing this, Tang Zheng and Song Jiangwang were both confused. Song Jiangwang asked curiously, "Dizang of Goguryeo, just what is going on?" The seed that was planted back then is the fruit of today. This matter is also related to you. The Dizang of Goguryeo looked deeply at Song Jiangwang and said meaningfully. Song Jiangwang's brows furrowed. He still did not understand the meaning behind his words. He shouted angrily, "Don't be deliberately mystifying." The Dizang of Goguryeo did not answer him. Instead, he stared at the surface of the pool with a burning gaze. Boom, boom, boom. Loud sounds came from the bottom of the pool. It was like the sound of war drums that signaled the beginning of a war. It made people's hearts beat faster, and their blood seemed to be boiling. A burst of dancing energy rose from the surface of the pool, and the air became more and more viscous, like glue. The Dizang of Goguryeo's expression became serious. He opened his mouth, and a passage of scriptures came out of his mouth. These scriptures turned into fist-sized golden Sanskrit words and flew to the surface of the pool. When these Sanskrit words appeared, the power of the Ksitigarbha Sutra increased greatly. It was many times more powerful than what they had seen before. Once the Sanskrit words came close, those writhing ghost faces immediately disappeared and were converted. Chapter 971. Looking at the turbulent pool, Tang Zheng and Song Jiangwang's hearts were in their throats. Suddenly, boom! With a loud sound, a monstrous black wave surged up. A huge creature rushed out of the pool. It was like a towering mountain, looking down at the three of them. This big guy was extremely ferocious and terrifying. Its huge head was a ferocious ghost face. Its 2 eyes were like blue flames that constantly jumped, and its big mouth was like a bottomless black hole, causing people to feel fear just by looking at it. "What is this?" Song Jiangwang exclaimed. Dizang of Goguryeo said with a serious expression, "This is the cause you planted. Don't you recognize him?" Song Jiangwang stared at the huge creature with suspicion. He frowned and said, "He is, the king of the underworld. If the other kings of hell, heard the three words King of the Underworld, they would definitely be shocked. This was because this name had disappeared for too long. No one mentioned it at all. However, they would not forget. This was because the King of the Underworld was one of the 10 kings of Hell who were as famous as them. He was the king of Hell who was harmed by the Yin-Chi of the 9 underworlds. Because of his death, Song Jianguang was able to ascend the throne. Therefore, how could Song Jianguang not have a deep impression of him? Although the king of the underworld's appearance had changed greatly, one could still vaguely see the outline of the king of the underworld. Therefore, Song Jianguang recognized him after looking carefully for a while. Because of this, he was indescribably shocked. This was because everyone thought that the king of the underworld was already dead. When he suddenly appeared at this time, no matter who it was, they would be shocked. However, it was obvious that Dizong of Goguryeo knew that the king of the underworld was not dead. That was why he said that karma. Tang Zheng did not recognize the king of the underworld, but when he saw the other party's appearance, he knew that the other party was not to be underestimated. However, seeing Song Jianguang's reaction, he was very interested to know what kind of unusual relationship there was between the two of them. King of the Underworld, so you're not dead, Song Jianguang said. The Netherworld King glared at Song Jianguang and finally said, Song Jiang, so it was you. It was because of your plan that I ended up like this. Song Jianguang's previous name was Song Jiang, and he was a subordinate of the Lord of the Underworld. He had planned for the Lord of the Underworld to become like this, so the Lord of the Underworld obviously did not have a good impression of him. The anger in his words was unmistakable. Song Jianguang's eyelids twitched as he said, Netherworld King, this is all a mistake. I never thought that you would become like this. If I had known, I definitely wouldn't have done this. Also, if I had known that you were still alive, I would have risked my life to come to the 9th hell to save you. The Lord of the Underworld laughed coldly. Haha, who wants you to save me? My current condition is better than ever. Of course, if that bald donkey Dizong of Goguryeo wasn't around, I would be even better. He has suppressed me for so many years. Now that I have achieved great success, I can finally break through his shackles. After saying this, the Lord of the Underworld turned to look at the Dizong of Goguryeo and laughed eerily. The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva remained unfazed by the compliment and humiliation. He did not react in the slightest because of these words. However, Tang Zheng and Song Jianguang were both shocked. It turned out that the Dizong of Goguryeo had been deliberately suppressing the Lord of the Underworld. As for why he would do this, Song Jianguang thought for a moment and understood the reason behind it. This was because the Lord of the Underworld's temperament had undergone an earth-shattering change. He could not be controlled at all. If he was not suppressed and allowed to leave the 9th hell, the impact would be immeasurable. Since the Dizong of Goguryeo could not suppress the Lord of the Underworld, then how profound was his current cultivation? Moreover, he said that he had achieved great success in his divine technique. What kind of divine technique did he cultivate? Also, Song Jianguang, don't think that I don't know about your wild ambitions. When you were under my command, I always knew that you wanted to replace me. Now that I am dead, I'm afraid that the throne of the King of Hell has also fallen into your hands. The Lord of the Underworld exposed the mystery with a single sentence. Song Jianguang's expression changed slightly, but he could not stop complaining. Lord of the Underworld, you have really misunderstood me. I have always been loyal to you. How could I have such thoughts? Haha, then are you one of the kings of hell now? The Lord of the Underworld asked directly. Song Jianguang stammered and could not say anything. The Lord of the Underworld's eyes shone with a fierce light like flames. He roared, so it is. I didn't guess wrongly. You are a wild and ambitious fellow. So what if you have become the king of hell? I will still take your life today. The tables had turned. No one had expected that the Lord of the Underworld would appear. Moreover, the Lord of the Underworld's anger towards Song Jianguang was obviously very strong. This way, Song Jianguang's situation was even worse. Song Jianguang's expression finally changed drastically. His lies could no longer fool the Lord of the Underworld. This meant that he was attacked from both sides. Now, he should not be thinking about how to capture Tang Zheng, but how to escape with his life. He subconsciously took a step back trying to activate the King of Hell's seal and leave the 18 levels of hell. However, under the watchful eyes of everyone, the feasibility of his plan was obviously too low. Even if he activated the King of Hell's seal, the others would have a way to stop him immediately. Trying to escape? The Lord of the Underworld's words blocked Song Jianwang's escape path. He looked resentful. I said that I would kill you, so I will definitely kill you. The Lord of the Underworld was very domineering. Song Jianwang's expression kept changing. He suddenly had an idea. He suddenly turned to Dizong of Goguryeo and said, Dizong of Goguryeo, you have always boasted that you want to purify the malicious spirits and evil spirits in the 9 levels of hell. Isn't the Lord of the Underworld one of the greatest examples? Are you going to watch him commit murder without doing anything? Dizong of Goguryeo looked at Song Jianwang indifferently and said, Song Jianwang, you are really cunning. You want me to save you again? Haven't you always boasted that you are merciful? Are you going to let the Lord of the Underworld do whatever he wants? Song Jianwang retorted. When Tang Jing saw this, he quickly interrupted. Song Jianwang, you are a king of hell, but you use such a method to provoke him. Do you really think that the Dizong of Goguryeo will fall for your trick? Tang Jing naturally did not want the Dizong of Goguryeo to fall for Song Jianwang's provocation. Otherwise, if he let him escape, the news of him coming to the world of spirits and souls would be made public. At that time, he would be surrounded by enemies, and his situation would be very bad. Brat, who do you think you are? How dare you speak nonsense in front of me? Song Jianwang was enraged. He did not wish for his chance to live to be ruined by Tang Jing. At the same time, his hatred for Tang Jing could be said to have seeped into his bones. He made up his mind. If he was unable to kill this brat this time, then he would definitely find a chance to kill him in the future. Seeing that both sides were at daggers drawn, the Dizong of Goguryeo finally interrupted. Thank you for your reminder. I know Song Jianwang's intentions very well. He wants me to save him. Of course I know. He used this kind of provocation once before to trick me again. How could I not know? Chapter 972. Since the Dizong of Goguryeo had already seen through Song Jianwang's intentions, he would definitely not fall for his trick again. Tang Jing relaxed. Just like Song Jianwang, he wanted to kill the other party. However, the Dizong of Goguryeo changed the topic and said something that shocked everyone. I liberate all living beings, and all living beings are equal. Song Jianwang is naturally one of them, so I won't watch him die at the hands of the Netherworld King. Moreover, the Netherworld King is already very powerful. If he devours Song Jianwang, his power will definitely be turned upside down. When that happens, it will be even more difficult to restrain him. Ha ha ha. Song Jianwang laughed maniacally in his heart. The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva was actually still so inflexible. For the sake of his so-called beliefs, he was so stubborn and did not know how to be flexible. If that was the case, he would be able to keep his life. Tang Jing's expression changed slightly, and he sighed secretly. Looking at the Dizong of Goguryeo's resolute expression, he knew that it was useless to say anything more. He could not persuade him at all. The Netherworld King flew into a rage. Dizong of Goguryeo, you've suppressed me for so many years, and I haven't settled the score with you yet, but you've taken the initiative to come knocking on my door. If that's the case, all of you must die today. After he finished speaking, his furious gaze swept across the few of them. Suddenly, his gaze fixed on the temperature of Tang Jing's body. He was slightly stunned, and then he was overjoyed. Haha, there's actually a living person. Strange, strange. There's actually a living person in the world of spirits and souls. The taste must be very delicious. Tang Jing felt a chill. Indeed, none of the people in the 9 Serenities hell were normal. Even the Netherworld King wanted to eat him. He was not Tang Seng's meat. Dizong of Goguryeo, you've been trying to liberate the vengeful spirits in the 9 Serenities hell, but you haven't really seen how powerful these vengeful spirits are. Today, I'll open your eyes. The king of the underworld let out a shrill cry that was sharp and ear-piercing. The hearts of the others shuddered as the cry quickly spread throughout the 18 levels of hell. Immediately, a series of sharp echoes came from the inner walls of the 18 levels of hell. The devilish sound entered one's ears and made one's heart tremble. This isn't an echo. Tang Zheng's expression changed greatly as he shouted. Haha, smart. This is indeed not an echo. Haven't you always thought that the ghosts in the 9th level of hell are in a state of disunity? Let me tell you wrong. They are not in a state of disunity, they just lack a leader, and I am that leader now. Their explosive power will be beyond your imagination. As soon as he finished speaking, clouds of black gas emerged from the inner walls of the 18 levels of hell. In the end, they transformed into ghostly faces. Tang Zheng took a closer look. It turned out that there were countless black holes on the inner walls. They were dark and dense, like a beehive. Just now, Tang Zheng had not noticed this at all. At this moment, he looked particularly shocked. It was as if there were countless ghosts hidden in those black holes. They kept letting out sharp cries, and then the ghosts rushed out and circled above their heads. This is... Song Jiangwang was dumbfounded. Dizong of Goguryeo sighed faintly and said, if 10,000 ghosts are not suppressed, the ghost world will be in chaos. The ghost world will be in chaos. Song Jiangwang's shoulders trembled. He understood the seriousness of this sentence. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, harbored evil intentions. If the ghost realm was in chaos, wouldn't that be beneficial to him? Dizong of Goguryeo glanced lightly at Tang Zheng, as if he could see through his heart, and said, if the ghost world is in chaos, the ghosts will not be able to reincarnate smoothly. It will do more harm than good to the human world. After hearing this, Tang Zheng could not help but feel a bit ashamed. His thinking was too narrow, blinded by a single leaf. Of course, this did not waver Tang Zheng's determination to absorb the ghost world's origin energy. The human world had to be restored to a large world. The human world had to be stronger than the ghost world, just like it had been many years ago. This was the most beneficial to the human world. Therefore, we should work together to suppress the king of the underworld. This is the best choice. Dizong of Goguryeo continued. Tang Zheng moved his head and asked, are you really not a match for the king of the underworld? Dizong of Goguryeo did not answer, but the king of the underworld answered first. Since he could not suppress me and let me come into being, it means that my power has surpassed his. Now that he wants to stop me, he's dreaming. Dizong of Goguryeo did not deny it. This meant that the king of the underworld was not lying. This made Tang Zheng and Song Jiangwang shocked, especially since Song Jiangwang knew that Dizong of Goguryeo was an expert in the ghost world. Now that he was not a match for the king of the underworld, how could he not be shocked? Regardless of whether I can defeat you, king of the underworld, as long as I'm here, I won't let you do as you please and harm the ghost world. Dizong of Goguryeo said calmly, neither sad nor happy. Song Jiangwang, I'll let you live for a while. I'll get rid of Dizong of Goguryeo first, then I'll deal with you. The king of the underworld said aggressively. With a flash, he hovered in front of Dizong of Goguryeo. Dizong of Goguryeo sat in the pool. No matter how strong the waves around him were, they could not hurt him. He raised his head and looked at the king of the underworld lightly, saying, King of the underworld, then let me see what kind of spell you've comprehended. Underworld's ghost art. The king of the underworld said lightly, what? You've really mastered the underworld's ghost art? Song Jiangwang was shocked. He had heard of this spell before. Back when he was under the king of the underworld had mentioned this spell. This spell was a new spell that the king of the underworld had come up with. This spell was extremely vicious, and it required the user to devour countless ghosts for his own use. Back then, the king of the underworld was the king of hell. It was impossible for him to cultivate such a rebellious spell. Apart from Song Jiangwang, who was his confidant, very few people knew about it. If the king of the underworld had not mentioned it, Song Jiangwang would not have remembered it. Now, he immediately recalled the king of the underworld's description of this spell. He was flabbergasted and could not calm down for a long time. Looking at Song Jiangwang's shocked reaction, the lord of the underworld laughed and said, You actually still remember this set of spells. I really didn't expect you to forget about running away now, didn't you? Song Jiangwang's expression kept changing. He gritted his teeth and said, King of the underworld, Don't be too happy. Do you really think you can cover the sky with one hand? You're too confident. I'm no longer the Songjiang from back then. The Dizong of Goguryeo has even comprehended the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Do you think we can't defeat you even if we work together? At this critical moment of life and death, Song Jiangwang placed his hope of survival on the Dizong of Goguryeo. Humph, you're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. The king of the underworld was furious. From today onwards, I'll rule over the ghost world. Since you guys are so stubborn, I'll use you guys as a sacrifice to my underworld ghost art. The lord of the underworld clenched his fist, and the Een spirits and malicious ghosts in the air instantly charged toward them. There were over 10,000 Een spirits and malicious ghosts, and there were both ghost citizens, ghost messengers, ghost generals, ghost marshals, and even a few ghost kings. When they attacked together, the battle prowess they unleashed was extremely shocking and powerful. The three of them launched a counterattack at the same time, each with a different style. Tang Zheng drew his bow and shot 3 arrows at the same time. They pierced through the ghosts at the front and skewered the ones at the back. The 3 arrows came from 3 different directions, forming 3 spectacular scenes. The shooting sun arrows were like skewers of candied haws. Even a ghost king could not escape the attack of the shooting sun arrows. The ghosts bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they struggled, trying to break free from the shooting sun arrows. However, the shooting sun arrows shone brightly. In an instant, a series of deafening explosions came from the shooting sun arrows. The ghosts exploded completely, turning into wisps of Een Qi. At the same time, the king of Hell's seal in Song Jiangwang's hand shone brightly, turning into thousands of black lights that enveloped the ghosts that were charging over. The ghosts immediately let out shrill cries as they melted into wisps of Een Qi and were absorbed by the king of Hell's seal. The Dizong of Goguryeo's method was the most simple. He casually drew a few complicated runes in the air in front of him. When the ghosts came into contact with the runes, they were immediately enveloped by the golden runes. They struggled non-stop, trying to break free from the runes' imprisonment. However, after a short while, they realized that all their efforts were in vain. Their struggles became slower and slower. In the end, their ferocious expressions became peaceful and peaceful. There was no trace of hostility left. With a flash of golden light, they soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. They had been purified by the Dizong of Goguryeo. The hostility in their bodies had been removed, and they had become normal ghosts. The 3 of them were very decisive in their attacks, and their power was not to be underestimated. When the Lord of the Underworld saw the ghosts disappear one by one, his expression did not change at all. Instead, there was a hint of mockery in the depths of his eyes. "Is that all?" the Lord of the Underworld asked. "Do you think that everything will be fine after killing those ghosts? Let me tell you, the most powerful thing about the Underworld ghost art is that it can continuously replenish reinforcements. Song Jiangwang, you should be very clear about this." Song Jiangwang's face was pale as he asked, "Are you really going to do this?" The Lord of the Underworld nodded without hesitation. "Of course. What is he going to do?" The Dizong of Goguryeo had a bad premonition, so he quickly asked. All these years, he had secretly fought with the Lord of the Underworld countless times. He knew very well how powerful the Lord of the Underworld was, so he had never left the Lord of the Underworld's 18 levels of hell. If it were not for his suppression, the Lord of the Underworld would have broken out of the water long ago. He would not have waited until today. He's going to use the Underworld ghost art for real. Song Jiangwang's voice was trembling slightly. Ha ha ha. The Lord of the Underworld laughed maniacally when he heard this. The Underworld ghost art. All the ghosts in the world will be at my disposal. Transform. The Lord of the Underworld opened his mouth, and a thunderous voice came out of his throat. He threw his hand, and a black light rushed out of the 18 levels of hell. Even the ghostly labyrinth outside could not hide its power. Boom! A loud sound exploded in the sky. It was as if a hole had been pierced in the sky, and a black hole appeared in the sky without any warning. "This is the Lord of the Underworld's Yama seal," the Dizong of Goguryeo exclaimed. Every Yama king had a Yama seal. When the Lord of the Underworld died, the Yama seal went missing. Everyone thought that it had been destroyed or lost. They did not expect it to still be in the hands of the Lord of the Underworld. This Yama seal was no doubt a divine artifact. It was very powerful. The Yama seal merged with the black hole, and the aura of heaven and earth changed drastically. Almost all the members of the ghost realm saw the strange phenomenon in the sky. Moreover, this strange phenomenon came from the ninth underworld. They were all guessing what had happened. Whoosh whoosh. A strong suction force rose from the ground. Many ghosts screamed and flew toward the black hole in the sky. These ghosts were not only ghost citizens, but also ghost servants, ghost generals, ghost marshals, and even ghost kings. They could not resist the black hole at all, and were immediately sucked in. The ghost realm was in chaos. Chapter 973. This earth-shattering scene naturally did not escape the eyes of the kings of hell. When they saw their subordinates flying into the sky one by one and being sucked into the huge black hole, it was as if the end of the world had arrived, and each of them was facing a great enemy. At the same time, they also felt a huge suction force. If it were not for their profound cultivation, they would have been sucked into the black hole as well. What's going on? Roars echoed in the ghost realm, and each of the kings of hell was enraged. Come back. Each of them used their divine powers, and a terrifying aura filled the air, entangling their subordinates and citizens, trying to pull them back. Their cultivation was indeed profound, and many of their citizens were pulled back. Then, one by one, they hid in their houses, trembling, and did not dare to come out again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Figures rose into the sky one by one, and the 9 kings of hell flew to the sky above their respective cities. With a flash of light in their hands, the king of hell's seal flew into the sky one by one, turning into a huge shield. An invisible force covered their cities, protecting them. However, the protection of the king of hell's seal was limited, and the citizens outside the cities panicked, screaming as they flew into the black hole and disappeared. Infinity and the kings of hell looked at the black hole in the sky that swallowed everything in horror. Their heartstrings trembled, and their minds raced, trying to guess what was going on. They tried to use their divine sense to sense the black hole, but they found that once their divine sense entered, it was as if it would be swallowed into the endless abyss. This made them flinch, and they did not dare to probe recklessly. This situation had never happened in the ghost realm, and they were puzzled. The kings of hell resisted with difficulty, protecting their citizens. However, there was no king of hell in King Songjiang City, and its resistance was minimal. Many of its citizens were sucked into the black hole, and it was extremely miserable. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A gust of cold wind blew wildly in the 18 levels of hell, and ghosts appeared in the 18 levels of hell, replacing the ghosts that were defeated by the 3 of them. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked, and he subconsciously exclaimed. The appearance of these ghosts was too strange. They appeared in the 18 levels of hell without any warning. It was as if they had been transported here from somewhere. Song Jiangwang's face was pale. He understood the netherworld demonic arts better than the others, so he immediately explained, "This is the netherworld demonic arts. It absorbs the spirits outside the 9 serenities hell for its own use. These spirits are contaminated with the yin qi of the 9 serenities hell and have lost their original nature. They will be used by the netherworld king." I see. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. Suddenly, he locked onto a familiar face among the ghosts. This was a ghost general that he had seen in the city of the Chakravarti king. He was also attracted to this place. Song Jiangwang's thoughts were the most complicated. This was because he had already recognized many familiar faces among these ghosts. These were all his subordinates. On the other hand, the other King Yanluo's had far fewer citizens. He immediately understood that it was definitely because he wasn't in the city to defend against the attacks of the Netherworld's ghostly arts. That was why the Netherworld king was able to take advantage of this opportunity. However, he couldn't even protect himself now. He couldn't care less about these citizens. Dizong of Goguryeo finally couldn't sit still anymore. He shouted, "Stop!" Suddenly, lotus flowers bloomed under his body and carried him toward the Netherworld king. He put his palms together and chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Huge scriptures jumped out of his mouth and flew toward the Netherworld King. These scriptures were extremely powerful. When they flew in front of the Netherworld King, they suddenly enlarged and descended from the sky to suppress him. "Humph, you still want to suppress me?" The Netherworld King shouted in disdain. "Children, break his Ksitigarbha Sutra." Following his loud shout, the weather changed. All the ghosts self-destructed and turned into wisps of yin chi. Then, they gathered together to form a huge ghost claw. Whoosh! The golden scriptures were torn apart and couldn't get close to the Netherworld King. The Netherworld King laughed coldly. "This is the Netherworld demonic claw of my Netherworld demonic arts. Can your Ksitigarbha Sutra block it?" The Netherworld demonic claw was a ghost claw formed by gathering all the ghosts. Countless ghosts had to be sacrificed to achieve this. The ghosts that disintegrated and turned into the ghost claw just now had all been sacrificed. This was an irreversible process. The Nether Ghost Claw broke through the sutra and clawed at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. The gigantic ghost claw was like a towering mountain, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. It locked onto Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, leaving him with no place to hide. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva didn't try to evade. Instead, he kept chanting the scriptures. A beam of golden light shot up into the sky from the top of his head and turned into a shining golden palm. Compared to the Netherworld demonic claw, the palm was pathetically small. However, it blocked the Netherworld demonic claw and prevented it from breaking through its defense. "Merciful and merciful palm." A voice full of vicissitudes came from the Dizang of Goguryeo. This voice seemed to contain endless compassion, making people feel pity for him. The merciful and merciful palm and the Netherworld demonic claw fought in midair. Brilliant lights flashed, and the golden and black colors reflected each other. Two completely different forces spread in all directions, leaving palm prints and claw marks on the inner walls of the 18 levels of hell. Mercy is the only way to deliver all living beings from torment. The Dizang of Goguryeo chanted the scriptures. The merciful and merciful palm shone brightly and gently hit the Netherworld demonic claw again. With a loud bang, the merciful and merciful palm and the Netherworld demonic claw disappeared at the same time. In this attack, both sides were evenly matched. No one gained the upper hand. The murderous intent in the Netherworld King's eyes burned brighter. He said coldly, "I have the endless power of the world of spirits and souls at my disposal. Dizang of Goguryeo, what abilities do you have to contend with me? If I don't enter hell, who will?" The Dizang of Goguryeo still did not have an intense reaction. He just kept chanting the scriptures. Suddenly, the scriptures that came out of his mouth changed. They turned out to be golden lotuses. Mouth-dazzling lotus. This was an extremely profound spell. Every golden lotus emitted a terrifying power. They flew to the Netherworld King's side and kept spinning, trying to suppress him. Haha, mouth-dazzling lotus. I've only heard of it before, but I've finally seen it today. However, if you want to use this spell to suppress me, Dizang of Goguryeo, you've underestimated me. The Netherworld King laughed maniacally. However, his smile suddenly disappeared. His expression was ferocious. He crossed his palms in front of his chest, and a string of black lightning suddenly appeared in his palms. Netherworld lightning. Tang Zheng and Song Jiangwang shouted at the same time. This Netherworld lightning could harm the Tree of Life. Naturally, one could imagine how powerful it was. Tang Zheng did not expect the Netherworld King to be able to use the Netherworld lightning. Would the Dizang of Goguryeo be able to resist him now? Whoosh whoosh. Ghosts continued to appear in the 18 levels of hell. They all self-destructed and merged into the Netherworld King's body. The Netherworld King's body became bigger and bigger. Suddenly, two black wings grew out of the Netherworld King's back. They covered the sky and almost occupied most of the space in the 18 levels of hell. The Netherworld King flapped his wings and flew up. A chilly wind blew. The lightning in his hands became thicker and thicker. Finally, it became as thick as a water bucket. With a shake of his wrist, he shouted, "Netherworld lightning." Whoosh! The Netherworld lightning flew toward the Dizang of Goguryeo. Bang bang bang! The Netherworld lightning whipped the golden lotus. golden light bloomed. However, it did not last long. The golden lotus turned into wisps of golden light and dissipated. The Dizong of Gogirio's expression changed slightly. He was shocked by the Netherworld King's combat power. The Netherworld Lightning's power was obviously stronger than normal. At least, according to Tang Zheng's judgment, it was stronger than what he had seen before. With his cultivation level, it would be difficult for him to deal with the Netherworld Lightning. However, he was not in a hurry to make a move. This was because the Dizong of Goguryeo had not used his full strength. It was still unknown who would win. Song Jiangwang had always wanted to escape. However, after seeing the Netherworld King's terrifying power, he forcefully suppressed this thought. There was no doubt that the Netherworld King would discover him once he used his technique to escape. Even though the Lord of the Netherworld and the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva were engaged in an intense battle right now, as if they had no time to care about anything else, Song Jiangwang believed that the Lord of the Netherworld would definitely react the moment he made a move. Song Jiangwang felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles. He stared at the battle between the Dizong of Goguryeo and the Netherworld King without blinking. This earth-shattering battle shocked him deeply. Only now did he realize how insignificant he was. He was still trying to dominate the world of spirits and souls. With these two stumbling blocks, he would never succeed. The earth-shattering battle between the Dizong of Goguryeo and the Netherworld King caused the 18 levels of hell to tremble. The huge pit shook violently, and the surrounding walls collapsed rapidly. The pit grew bigger and bigger as if it was going to spread to the ends of the earth. It turned the vast world of spirits and souls into netherworld hell. The Dizong of Goguryeo's mouth brilliant lotus could not block the netherworld lightning's attack. The Dizong of Goguryeo's aura had obviously weakened. This caused Tang Jing and Song Jiangwang's expressions to change at the same time. If the Dizong of Goguryeo really could not block the Netherworld King, the world of spirits and souls would definitely be destroyed. When that time came, not only the world of spirits and souls, but also the human world would be affected. Song Jiangwang could sit by and do nothing, but Tang Zheng could not stand by and do nothing. However, he was obviously not the Netherworld King's opponent. His eyeballs kept rolling, and his brain was working quickly. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at the huge black hole formed by the Yama's seal in the sky. He had a flash of inspiration, and he secretly cheered, "I've got a way." Since the Netherworld King relies on absorbing the power of other ghosts in the world of spirits and souls to support himself, wouldn't it be a great success if I cut off his escape route? If Song Jiangwang knew about this idea, he would definitely scoff at it. This was because it was easier said than done. Any ghost that approached the black hole in the sky would definitely be sucked in. How could he cut off the Netherworld King's escape route? Instead, he would become a part of increasing the Netherworld King's strength. Therefore, Song Jiangwang could only watch and do nothing. He was like a fish on a chopping board. His life was in the hands of others, and he could not make a decision at all. Chapter 974. Tang Jing flew into the sky. This scene shocked Dizong of Goguryeo and Song Jiangwang. Dizong of Goguryeo subconsciously shouted, "Don't go." However, Tang Zheng did not hear his voice. Song Jiangwang was slightly delighted. He thought to himself, this little guy must have been scared silly. He actually took the initiative to fly toward the black hole. Isn't he walking right into the trap? One had to know that the black hole was not only useful to the ghosts in the ghost world, but it was also very attractive to the souls of humans. Once one was sucked in, it would be very difficult to break free. The Netherworld King coldly glanced at Tang Zheng and sneered contemptuously. "Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." With a thought, the suction force of the black hole created by the Yama's seal increased greatly. In an instant, a few muffled bangs were heard. The defenses above the Yama cities in the ghost world collapsed. One by one, the residents of the ghost world quickly rose into the air and flew toward the black hole. The other kings of hell gritted their teeth and endured. Their faces were terrifyingly pale as they looked at the terrifying black hole in the sky. They had already discovered that the black hole had risen from the 18th level of hell. This meant that something must have happened in the 18th level of hell. Didn't Song Jiangwang go to the 18th level of hell to meet Dizong of Goguryeo? Could it be that something had happened? Hundreds of thoughts ran through their minds. Their hearts trembled as they became more and more anxious. This was because there were too many unknowns in the 18th level of hell. However, they soon discovered a strange figure. In the sky, a figure actually rose into the air. This did not look like the ghosts that were sucked into the black hole. This figure was calm and composed. Even though they were far away, the kings of hell could see it clearly. Who is this? This thought appeared in their minds at the same time. As they were too far away, they could not sense Tang Zheng's powerful life force. Otherwise, they would have discovered that he was a living person and not a ghost. Not only the kings of hell, but almost all the residents of the ghost world looked up at the sky. Tang Zheng was as dazzling as the sun. No matter where he was in the world of spirits and souls, his figure could be seen. He attracted everyone's attention. Tang Zheng was in a daze. His eyes were filled with the unfathomable black hole. He had personally experienced the feeling of his soul being sucked out. He was overwhelmed with shock. He understood that this black hole had a fatal effect on the soul. However, at this moment, he already had no choice, and he was utterly unable to escape. Moreover, fleeing would mean that the Netherworld King had his way, and the Ghost Realm would fall into the hands of the Netherworld King. This was only disadvantageous to him. You know how to attract souls. Do you think I can't? Tang Zheng snorted coldly and pushed his hands forward. Whoosh! A black hole appeared out of thin air, growing bigger and bigger. At the critical moment, he used the sky-swallowing technique. Immediately, two black holes appeared in the sky. Although the black hole created by the King Yinlua's seal was larger, the black hole created by the sky-devouring technique wasn't any weaker. The ghosts in the sky seemed to have been immobilized. They were suspended between the two black holes. The two black holes had a great attraction force. The two forces of attraction fought against each other, and the ghosts actually maintained a kind of balance. They could neither advance nor retreat. Ah! Exclamations sounded in the world of spirits and souls. This scene was too bizarre. Even the kings of hell could not do this. The kings of hell were shocked. Where did this master come from? The other party was clearly not the Dizong of Goguryeo. But when did the world of spirits and souls have such a master? Why did they not know? Questions quickly occupied their minds. No matter how hard they racked their brains, they could not figure out the reason and details. They could only be spectators. However, they also benefited a lot. Because the attraction force suddenly decreased, their bodies relaxed, and they hurriedly looked for shelter. The few cities whose defenses had been destroyed quickly reactivated their defenses to protect the cities they lived in. The ghosts were terrified. The residents of the world of spirits and souls were so frightened that they kept quiet. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. However, everyone's common focus was still on Tang Zheng. Because the black holes created by his sky-swallowing technique were too impressive. Its power was beyond everyone's expectations. This included the 10 kings of hell, and even the Dizong of Goguryeo and the king of the underworld. The king of the underworld's expression changed drastically. His originally ferocious face became even more terrifying, and the flames in his eyes were dancing non-stop. He was the most familiar with his netherworld ghostly art. Of course, he was also the most confident. He thought that none of the residents of the world of spirits and souls could break his netherworld ghostly art. However, the scene in front of him severely damaged his confidence. He almost suspected that this was all a dream. Of course, this was not a dream. It was absolutely real. The king of the underworld was also very clear about this, so the shock in his heart was especially intense. What's with the black holes he created? Is it also the netherworld ghostly art? The king of the underworld muttered to himself. However, he immediately denied this point of view. This was because he knew the netherworld ghostly art too well. One of the key factors behind the success of this art was the King of Hell's seal. The King of Hell's seal was connected to the 18 levels of hell. Therefore, using the King of Hell's seal as a medium, he used the King of Hell's seal to perform the netherworld ghostly art. When the ghosts were sucked into the black holes, the sinister and vicious Yin Qi in the King of Hell's seal would take effect. It would seep into the ghosts and transform them so that they would obey the king of the underworld's orders. As for the ghosts being transported to the 18 levels of hell, this was also because the king of hell's seal was connected to the 18 levels of hell. That was why it had such a miraculous effect. Obviously, Tang Zheng did not have the king of hell's seal. Even though the king of the underworld was far away, he could tell that the black holes created by Tang Zheng were worlds apart from the black holes created by him. However, there was no doubt that both black holes had great effects on the ghosts. The king of the underworld had never seen this art before. Furthermore, he had looked down on Tang Zheng from the beginning. This human was too weak. He believed that he could kill him without even using a finger. However, at this moment, he realized how ridiculous his thoughts were. He was entangled by Dizong of Goguryeo and had no time to care about anything else. He could only watch as Tang Zheng confronted the black holes created by him in midair. Dizong of Goguryeo was extremely intelligent. He immediately realized the great significance of Tang Zheng's actions. He originally thought that Tang Zheng was doomed. He did not expect him to have a miraculous move that could dissolve the enormous demonic power of the netherworld ghostly art. He had a new understanding of the will of the heavenly axiom. This encounter was not only to save the human world, but also to save the world of spirits and souls. This was because even if Tang Zheng did not come to the 18 levels of hell, the king of the underworld would still break out of the water at this moment. If no one restrained him, the king of the underworld's netherworld ghostly art would be unstoppable. Then, would the world of spirits and souls not fall? Therefore, the heavenly axiom's actions were aimed at saving the human world and the world of spirits and souls. Dizong of Goguryeo had not predicted this before. Seeing that the king of the underworld was trying to end the battle quickly so that he could attack Tang Zheng, Dizong of Goguryeo would not let him succeed. He immediately launched an even more ferocious attack. A 7-colored light lit up under his body, completely covering the light of the golden lotus. In an instant, Dizong of Goguryeo's entire body was bathed in the 7-colored light. However, he did not appear frivolous. Instead, he appeared extremely solemn. Just one look was enough to make one's soul solemn. The divine Prajna Lotus, the king of the underworld, exclaimed. After all, the king of the underworld was once the king of hell. He also knew a lot of information about Dizong of Goguryeo. The divine Prajna Lotus was a supernatural power that Dizong of Goguryeo could only use when he cultivated his spells to the extreme. There were many different opinions about the power of the divine Prajna Lotus, but without exception, it was extremely powerful. Legend had it that the divine Prajna Lotus had a total of 90 to 80 petals to form a huge 7-colored lotus. When a cultivator sat within it, he would immediately become a Buddha. Could it be that Dizong of Goguryeo had become a Buddha? The king of the underworld and King Song Jiangwang had the same thought in their minds at the same time. Their expressions changed drastically. The king of the underworld's fearless and confident attitude was based on the fact that Dizong of Goguryeo had yet to become a Buddha. If he had really become a Buddha, then the king of the underworld would not be his opponent at all. Hell has yet to be emptied. It's impossible for Dizong of Goguryeo to become a Buddha. King Song Jiangwang mumbled to himself in shock. The spells that Dizong of Goguryeo cultivated placed great importance on promises. If he made a heavy oath, he definitely could not go back on it. Otherwise, he would face countless dangers and obstacles on his path of cultivation. This was something that any cultivator would be willing to see happen. This was why King Song Jiangwang was so confident that Dizong of Goguryeo had yet to become a Buddha. Suddenly, the king of the underworld's gaze was firmly attracted by the petals of the Prajna Lotus. He was slightly stunned, but soon after, he beamed with joy. He cried out in surprise, "Haha, 36 petals. Dizong of Goguryeo, you haven't become a Buddha, nor have you cultivated the true Prajna Lotus." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said without sadness or joy, 9981 petals, symbolizing 9981 hardships. Now that I have experienced 36 hardships on the path of cultivation, I naturally have 30 petals. This is not the real Prajna Saint Lotus like you said. It is real. It is just that you have entered a misunderstanding. Haha, I don't care about your 81 difficulties or 36 difficulties. As long as you haven't truly become a Buddha, you're not my opponent." The king of the underworld was wild with joy. He roared and swung the netherworld lightning over. Wherever the netherworld lightning passed, the ghosts would be sucked into the lightning. Gradually, the lightning became thicker and thicker, as if it was about to fill up the hole in the 18 layers of hell. The ghosts in the 18 layers of hell were all sucked into the netherworld lightning in an instant. The lightning flickered like black pythons, flicking their tongues and emitting a terrifying aura. King Song Jiangwang retreated step by step until he reached the wall. There was nowhere for him to go, while the Dezong of Goguryeo and the king of the underworld were ready to attack. They had reached a critical point. King Song Jiangwang's heart skipped a beat. If he did not leave now, when would he leave? Times had changed. He believed that the king of the underworld would not be able to take care of him at this moment. As a result, he was prepared to take a gamble. Moreover, if he did not leave, the terrifying netherworld lightning might affect him as well. He would die either way, so it was obviously better to take a gamble. He quickly activated his Yama's seal, and with a flash of light, a black door appeared in front of him. His figure flashed, and he dove into the black door, rolling and crawling as he disappeared. In the next second, he appeared in his own city. Chapter 975. Every citizen of the Ghost Realm saw the magnificent scene clearly. They looked up at the sky and stared at the scene as if they were in a daze. Their hearts almost stopped beating at this moment. Many kings of hell had the urge to rush to the 18th level of hell to find out, but due to the black hole in the sky, they had no choice but to stop, because they had to stay to protect their own people. But the curiosity in the depths of their hearts was aroused to the extreme. Tangjing also saw this scene. Although he was extremely shocked, he still restrained his thoughts and focused on dealing with the black hole in front of him. The ghosts were restrained by the two forces and couldn't move. Their eyes widened as they looked at the black hole in front of them in fear. Suddenly, Tangjung found that the suction force of the black hole created by Yama's seal had weakened a little. This change made him overjoyed. Originally, the two sides were in a stalemate, and the two black holes could not do anything to each other. But at this moment, the other black hole weakened, which gave Tangjung an opportunity. Before he could figure out the reason, he roared, "Absorb!" He quickly activated his vital energy, and in an instant, the power of the sky swallowing technique increased greatly. Whoosh whoosh. The surrounding air was completely sucked into the black hole, and those ghosts also flew toward the black hole. Seeing that they were about to be sucked into another black hole, the ghosts struggled and screamed, but it was no use. At this moment, the power of the sky swallowing technique overshadowed that of Yama's seal. The suction force of Yama's seal was reduced to the minimum. Whoosh! The black hole created by Yama's seal flew toward Tangjung. The sky seemed to collapse, forming a strange vacuum state. The other ghosts were desperate and looked helplessly at the black hole in front of them. The 10 kings of hell had no way to resist at all. They could only watch this scene. They thought that their people could escape, but they were too naive. Song Jiangwang's face was pale. Tangjing's skill and means were beyond his expectations, especially this move, which made his heart feel like it was about to jump out of his throat. He actually dared to boast shamelessly that he wanted to capture Tangjung. He was simply overestimating himself. Looking at the approaching ghosts and black holes, Tangjung did not have as many complicated thoughts as the others. At this moment, the only thought in his mind was to win. Of course, he would not learn from the Netherworld King's vicious methods. Seeing that the ghost was about to disappear into the black hole, he immediately stopped using the sky-swallowing technique. In an instant, the suction force stopped, and all the ghosts fell to the ground. After regaining their freedom, all of the ghosts danced in excitement and used all of their skills to escape as far as they could. Tangjung did not care about these ghosts at all. He flew toward the black hole. He guessed that the sudden decrease in the suction force of the black hole must have had something to do with the loud bang just now. Perhaps Dezong of Goguryeo had used some powerful attack to cause the Lord of the Underworld to lose control of the black hole. Therefore, He wanted to seize this rare opportunity to completely destroy this black hole and cut off the Nether King's path of retreat. Just as he approached the black hole, the suction force suddenly increased. In a moment of carelessness, he was immediately enveloped by a powerful suction force. Before he could react, his figure disappeared into the black hole. Cries of surprise echoed in the world of spirits and souls. Obviously, no one had expected this. They originally thought that Tangjung was going to win, but they did not expect that he would be sucked into the black hole as well. Song Jiangwang had mixed feelings. Without the suppression of this living person, wouldn't the nether ghost arts be invincible in this world? Then, even if he bitterly held on and resisted the suction force, there would be a time when he would be exhausted. However, on the other hand, Tangjong represented the human forces. Without him, the world of spirits and souls might be able to avoid the danger of being downgraded to a small world. All the residents of the world of spirits and souls trembled in fear and hid in their houses. Without this brave warrior to resist the black hole, would it not be difficult for them to escape the fate of being sucked into the black hole? Their faces were ashen, as if their souls were about to scatter. The 18 levels of hell were in a mess. The 18 levels of hell had completely collapsed, and the area had increased by dozens of times, turning into a huge ruin. This was the result of the battle between Dizong of Goguryeo and the Lord of the Underworld. Even the ghostly labyrinth at the periphery had disappeared, and the 18 levels of hell had completely merged with the 9th level of hell outside. Waves of ruthless Yin Qi drifted out, and the 9th level of hell spread out rapidly. The Yin Qi soared into the sky, and everywhere it passed, there was an aura of death. Even the sky above their heads became darker and darker. Dizong of Goguryeo and the Lord of the Underworld floated in midair, and there were traces of battle on their bodies. The 9th level of Hell Lightning had disappeared, and so did the Prajna Lotus. Only the two of them were left. However, Dizong of Goguryeo stood up and simply floated in the air, confronting the Lord of the Underworld. However, at this moment, both of them looked at the sky at the same time and saw the scene of Tangjung being sucked into the black hole. Dizong of Goguryeo's expression changed abruptly. He was very clear about the power of the King of Hell Seal. Moreover, this was the King of Hell Seal that had been imbued with the Netherworld's demonic arts. Its power was even more incomparable. This person had been sucked into the King of Hell, and he was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He had completely fallen into the Lord of the Underworld's control. Wouldn't the heavenly axiom's decree be unable to be carried out? No, he definitely couldn't let him die like this. Dizong of Goguryeo's expression became very resolute, and there was a strange look in his eyes for the first time. It was difficult for him to maintain his composure. He put his palms together and stared at the Lord of the Underworld without blinking. He was extremely fierce. The Lord of the Underworld laughed heartily. Haha, this brat is still no match for me. How can the Netherworld's demonic arts be so easily broken? I want to destroy his body and soul in the King of Hell's Seal and scatter his soul. I won't let you have your way, Dizong of Goguryeo shouted. He took a step forward and walked toward the Lord of the Underworld. Every time Dizong of Goguryeo's feet landed, ripples would undulate. At the same time, golden lotuses would appear and bloom under his feet. Lotuses with every step. This was another great divine ability. The Lord of the Underworld's expression changed slightly, and he said, Dizong of Goguryeo, who exactly is this person? Why do you want to save him even though you've mobilized so many people? Dizong of Goguryeo said coldly, the Vajra's glare. As soon as he finished speaking, golden halos appeared all over his body. He was like a golden man, like a Vajra. His angry eyes were wide open, causing those who looked at him to tremble in fear. The Vajra was an important divine ability among the divine arts that Dizong of Goguryeo cultivated. The Vajra's glare was a wake-up call. The Lord of the Underworld's expression darkened, and he snorted coldly. You're really determined to save that brat. I won't let you have your way. So what if the Vajra's glare is a glare? Azura descends. Kill? The word kill contained boundless murderous intent. The aura of heaven and earth changed because of it. The Yin Qi in the hell of the 9 underworlds changed the way it spread. It gathered from all directions and completely condensed together. A bolt of 9 underworlds lightning flashed past, and a huge shadow appeared in the sky. The water in the pool kept boiling. It was like a water dragon rising into the sky and gathering in the huge shadow. In an instant, the shadow underwent an earth-shattering change. It gradually condensed into a physical body and rapidly shrunk to the size of a normal person. Azura descends, slaughter the world. The Lord of the Underworld roared. Roar. The Azura also let out a roar. This sound spread far and wide, even further than the Lord of the Underworld's voice. The entire world of spirits and souls heard it, and it was shaken. Just this sound alone almost scared some timid ghosts out of their wits. They all shrank into a corner, their faces pale and trembling. Azura. Dizang of Goguryeo looked at this thing that suddenly appeared in shock. The Azura was a legendary existence in the world of spirits and souls. It was said that he condensed the most ruthless Inchi in the world of spirits and souls. Moreover, it depended on fate. After so many years of legends, no one had seen the real Azura. Moreover, if anyone subdued the Azura, their power in the world of spirits and souls would increase greatly. They would become an existence that was not inferior to the 10 kings of hell. Even the 10 kings of hell could not compare. The Lord of the Underworld had the ability to make the Azura descend. It was obvious how high his cultivation was. Dizang of Goguryeo was not afraid. Instead, he became more determined. Whether it was the Lord of the Underworld or the Azura, they must be eliminated. Otherwise, the world of spirits and souls would really be plunged into misery and suffering. This was because the Azura's combat power was too strong. It only listened to its master's orders. It was a complete killing machine. Azura sword. The Lord of the Underworld roared again. The Azura's long hand reached forward and grabbed at the void. A bolt of 9 serenities lightning appeared out of thin air and quickly condensed into the shape of a sword. The Azura sword. It was refined from 9 serenities lightning. Its power was imaginable. Dizang of Goguryeo's eyes widened. His face was full of anger. He also roared, "Devil vanquishing staff." A golden light flashed in the air. A shining golden staff appeared in his hand. Lotuses bloomed under his feet. With the devil vanquishing staff in hand, he rushed toward the Azura. 9 serenities lightning danced in the Azura's eyes. With the Azura sword in hand, it roared and rose from the ground as if it was invincible. It descended from the sky and slashed toward Dizang of Goguryeo. When the sword landed, the world fell silent. Only this sword was left. Time and space seemed to have frozen. Other than this sword, there was nothing else in the world. What was a sword technique? This was a sword technique. It was extremely simple, but it was invincible. It was as if any obstacle would vanish under this sword. If an ordinary person faced this sword, they would have been killed by this aura before the sword landed. They would have been turned into ashes, and their souls would have been scattered. The water in the pool had dried up. Where the sword pointed, a crack appeared at the bottom of the pool. It grew bigger and bigger, like a natural ravine. Dizang of Goguryeo waved his devil-vanquishing staff. Golden light filled the sky. A golden staff shadow hit the Azura sword hard. Wherever the golden light passed, the world was dyed golden. It was solemn and was completely different from the gloomy environment around it. Chapter 976. The demon-vanquishing staff clashed with the Azura saber. The saber and the staff clashed. In an instant, the heavens and earth lost their color. These two weapons had undoubtedly become the center of attention. The shockwave was like an atomic bomb that could destroy the heavens and earth. Dust and gravel filled the sky and spread in all directions. Thick and high smoke and dust swept across the sky like a sandstorm, almost connecting the sky and the earth, covering the sun and the sky. It swept across the entire 9th Serenity Hell at a supersonic speed and quickly rolled toward the nearest city. Boom, boom, boom. Everywhere it passed, the villages turned into ruins and were swept up into the sky. Without the protection of the Yama's seal, The people of the world of spirits and souls had long been sucked into the black hole and became a dead village. At this moment, even the last trace of the village's existence had been wiped clean. The smoke and dust was invincible. Everything in its path was turned into nothingness. It slowly approached the nearest city. The Chakravarti king floated in mid-air and held the Yama's seal tightly. Rays of light fell and covered the huge Chakravarti city. It was like a huge protective shield that protected his city and his people. The people in the city were still in shock. What they had seen and heard today was something that they had never expected in their lives. They saw the black smoke and dust approaching from the horizon. One by one, they tried to escape but found that the protective shield of the Yama's seal not only protected them but also restricted their movements. No matter how hard they tried, they could not break out. The Chakravarti king's face was extremely gloomy. He roared, "Stop! Don't be impatient. I'm here. What are you afraid of?" After hearing the reprimand of the city lord, the people gave up on escaping. However, they could not remain calm. They knelt down and kowtowed to the Chakravarti king, begging for his protection. The Chakravarti king continued to channel his powers as he gritted his teeth. He did not know what had caused this, but there was no doubt that something had happened in the 18 levels of hell that had caused this. He and his city had become the fish that had been caught in the crossfire. Not only was it for his people, but it was also for himself. He had to face it head-on and not run. If he ran away, his people would no longer exist. Then, as the king of hell, he would be all alone. What was the point of that? He took a deep breath and looked at the approaching smoke and dust. He secretly cheered himself on. Finally, the smoke and dust hit the protective shield. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out, and the protective shield began to tremble violently, emitting creaking sounds. The Chakravarti king's face turned pale in an instant. His arm that was holding onto the Yama's seal trembled uncontrollably as his veins bulged. He cried out sorrowfully in his heart. The ferocity of this attack was far beyond his expectations. Kacha! With a crisp sound, the light shield shattered into pieces. Smoke and dust swept across the towering city walls of Chakravarti city. The city walls collapsed and turned into ruins. Sharp screams sounded from within the city one after another. This smoke was fatal. Everywhere it passed, all creatures were turned into nothingness, their souls scattered. Groups of people from the ghost realm fled in all directions, trying to escape the pursuit. However, the speed of the smoke was much faster than them. It caught up to them in the blink of an eye, leaving them no place to hide. High up in the sky, the Chakravarti king could only watch helplessly as countless of his people died. This time, he was really going to be all alone. Seeing that the smoke and dust was right in front of him, he subconsciously swung the Yama's seal to counterattack. However, with a loud bang, the Yama's seal cracked. The Chakravarti king watched in disbelief as his magic treasure shattered into pieces. This was a heaven-grade magic treasure. How could it be so easily damaged? Just that blow alone had not only broken through the light shield, it had also caused irreversible damage to the Yama's seal. Once he channeled his inner power into the Yama's seal, it would die of old age. Although the Chakravarti king was heartbroken, his rationality prevailed when he saw the smoke and dust coming towards him. He could no longer care about his people. He transformed into a ray of light and fled into the distance like a stray dog. He flew tirelessly for a long time before he turned around to look behind him. He could no longer see Chakravarti city. It was completely shrouded in smoke and dust. Not a single person had escaped. Faced with the obstruction of this majestic city, the momentum of the smoke and dust gradually weakened. Finally, it dissipated as if it had never appeared. However, the razed Chakravarti city still showed traces of its existence. The Chakravarti king stopped and looked at his city from afar. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Who did he offend? Why did he have to suffer such an unexpected calamity? He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. His voice was mixed with a myriad of emotions and reverberated throughout the world. However, no one cared about his gains and losses. Everyone was attracted by the 18 levels of hell and the black hole in the sky. After the black hole sucked Tangjung away, it did not stop. Instead, it became even more unscrupulous and started to absorb the ghosts in the world. Some of the weaker kings of hell were struggling to hold on. They were on the verge of collapse, and the protective shield seemed like it would break at any time. In the world of spirits and souls, the cities of the kings of hell were far apart. Although everyone saw the smoke and dust in the sky, no one saw that Chakravarti city had been destroyed by the smoke and dust. Naturally, they could not feel the terrifying power of the smoke and dust. 18 levels of hell. Looking from afar, everything in the surroundings had collapsed. After the smoke and dust dissipated, only 3 figures were still standing on the ruins. Dizang of Goguryeo, the lord of the underworld, and Azura were dozens of meters away from each other. They stood in a triangular formation and faced each other from afar. The golden glow of the demon-vanquishing staff had dimmed significantly, and the aura of the Azura saber had also weakened. The impact of the collision between the two parties was earth-shattering. This was something that even Dizang of Goguryeo did not expect. This was a battle between experts. Every single move could practically destroy the heavens and the earth. This battle also caused another effect, and that was the complete disappearance of the vengeful spirits and malicious spirits in the 9 Serenities hell. They were completely wiped out. This effect was even more immediate than when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had enlightened them. However, these spirits had their souls scattered, which was naturally more effective than when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had enlightened them. Dizang of Goguryeo felt that it was a pity. He had a compassionate heart, but he could not control everything. The result today was a variable that was beyond his control. Vajra's glare, severe warning? Haha, that's all there is to it. Dizang of Goguryeo, you are a joke. Now that Azura and I are here, and we have the netherworld ghost arts, who in the world of spirits and souls can stop us? Is it you? Can you do it? The lord of the underworld laughed wildly and proudly. The anger on Dizang of Goguryeo's face gradually disappeared. It was replaced by grief. A pair of eyes full of pity looked in all directions. The 9th level of hell had been destroyed. It had truly become a land of death. Other than the 3 of them, there was not even a single spirit left. Dizang of Goguryeo let out a long sigh. He put his palms together and recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra loudly. Scriptures flew out from his mouth and danced around him at high speed. They were like butterflies flying through flowers. The lord of the underworld looked at this scene with disdain. He sneered and said, "You are about to die, and you are still trying to be mysterious. I want to see what other tricks you have." Dizang of Goguryeo finished reciting the entire Ksitigarbha Sutra. The scriptures no longer danced in the air. Instead, they landed on his body. His entire body was shining with golden light. All the scriptures intertwined and actually formed a kasaya. It was dazzling and looked dignified. He sat down cross-legged. A huge, 7-colored prajna lotus bloomed under him and lifted him up. The prajna lotus bloomed slowly. One petal after another kept on blooming. When it reached the 36th petal, it did not stop. The petals continued to bloom rapidly as if there was no end to it. The lord of the underworld was suddenly stunned. His expression changed slightly. The prajna lotus that Dizang of Goguryeo transformed into clearly only had 36 petals. How did it suddenly become so many petals? How many petals were there? 40, 41, 42. It was still blooming. Could it be that he had to reach the peak state of the prajna lotus when he had 81 petals? No. How was this possible? How could he do all this in such a short time? It was absolutely impossible. If hell is not empty, I swear I will not become a Buddha. If hell is empty, I will become a Buddha immediately. These words were like pearls. They were recited by Dizang of Goguryeo and reverberated above the desolate ruins. The lord of the underworld's divine soul trembled. He had never heard these words before. This was because when Dizang of Goguryeo swore this heavy oath, he had already been infected by the yin qi of the 9 underworlds. He had sunk to the bottom of the 18 levels of hell. Now that he heard these words, he suddenly had a bad premonition. He stared at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva without blinking. Suddenly, he saw Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva put on the golden kasaya and bathed in the sacred golden light. The vanquishing devil's staff in his hand lit up with scriptures, and the Prajna divine lotus kept blooming its petals until it stopped at the 56th petal. The power of the 56 petals Prajna lotus was much stronger than when it only had 36 petals. Every petal of the Prajna lotus symbolized a calamity that the practitioner would encounter in the process of cultivation. From 36 petals to 56 petals, Dzong of Goguryeo had experienced 20 calamities. These calamities were in the heart and not in the external form. Therefore, these 20 tribulations were what he had experienced during this short exchange of blows. Although the Prajna lotus hadn't reached its peak state, it didn't affect Dzong of Goguryeo from becoming a Buddha. With his cultivation and temperament, he had already met the conditions to become a Buddha. However, because he swore a heavy oath and hell wasn't empty, he couldn't break through this barrier. Now, due to a freak combination of factors, the battle between Dzong of Goguryeo and Asura affected a wide area. Everything in hell had disappeared, and hell had collapsed. Hell had become empty, so his oath was broken. When hell was empty, he would become a Buddha on the spot. Therefore, all of this happened naturally. There was no need for Dzong of Goguryeo to make any preparations. He recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra and turned it into a kasaya. When the kasaya was attached to his body, he would become a Buddha on the spot. Buddha was the final form of his divine power, so he had almost reached the peak of his cultivation. However, he hadn't experienced enough calamities. The Prajna lotus only had 56 petals, so he hadn't truly reached the peak of Buddha. Chapter 9, 77. Dzong of Goguryeo wore a kasaya and looked solemn. He raised his eyes and looked at Shura and the Lord of the Underworld quietly. Shura did not have his own consciousness and was not afraid at all. However, the Lord of the Underworld was shocked. This was just a look, but it was completely different from before. The Lord of the Underworld quickly channeled his energy and roared, "Dzong of Goguryeo, so what if you've become a Buddha? Shura and I will kill you if we work together." Kill. The word kill emitted a strong murderous aura and soared into the sky. The Lord of the Underworld and Shura moved at the same time and attacked Dzong of Goguryeo. The Shura saber lit up again and swept over with an unparalleled murderous aura. Dzong of Goguryeo sat on the Prajna lotus and raised his arm gently. Whoosh! He waved the demon-vanquishing wand from top to bottom, and a golden light flashed past. The sky seemed to be covered by the golden light, and the Enchi retreated wherever the golden light passed. Bang! The demon-vanquishing wand hit the Shura saber. The Shura saber pressed down and hit Shura's shoulder directly. A stream of blood-like liquid flowed down from his shoulder. Roar! Shura let out a heart-wrenching roar and tried to break free from the Shura saber. However, he realized that the Shura saber was pressed down on his shoulder by the demon-vanquishing wand. He could not lift it at all. The Lord of the Underworld was shocked when he saw this, and his expression changed. The Dzong of Goguryeo, who had become a Buddha, was beyond his expectations. He was so strong. Kill! The Lord of the Underworld roared and waved his hand. Whoosh! The Yama seal in the sky flew down and returned to the Lord of the Underworld's hand. The black hole disappeared, and the people of the ghost realm felt relieved. Go! A voice came from the Lord of the Underworld's throat, and the Yama seal attacked Dzong of Goguryeo directly. From top to bottom, the force was extremely strong. Dzong of Goguryeo did not even look at it. He waved the demon-vanquishing wand casually. When the staff imprints collided, there was no strong shockwave. Everything was as calm as the surface of an ancient well without ripples. Everything was still. After a long time, bang! The Yama seal flew back and collided with the Lord of the Underworld. The Lord of the Underworld's tall body immediately became bent. Like a kite with a broken string, he was carried away by this force and flew far away. The combat prowess of a first-stage Mahayana realm cultivator was truly shocking. He directly crushed the Shura and the Lord of the Underworld. The Lord of the Underworld would never have dreamed that after hell was emptied, it would bring such a drastic change to the Dizang of Goguryeo. At this moment, the Lord of the Underworld was filled with regret. The King of the Underworld flew for a long distance before he finally came to a stop. He realized that his own Yama's seal had almost created a huge hole in his chest. Before he could heal his injuries, he saw Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva hitting Azura's shoulder tirelessly with his staff again and again. At first, the Azura could still take it head-on, but he didn't have the strength to fight back. In the end, the Shura's strong legs were finally unable to withstand the continuous attacks. Thump! He knelt on the ground, and the ground trembled. The Lord of the Underworld's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when the Shura knelt. The Lord of the Underworld's heart was filled with despair and desolation. At this point, he understood that his accumulation of power this time had failed. After Dizang of Goguryeo became a Buddha, he was no match for him at all. If he continued to delay, he would probably end up with his soul destroyed. He made a prompt decision and prepared to escape while Dizang of Goguryeo was dealing with the Shura. He looked at the Shura unwillingly and prepared to turn around and leave. Suddenly, the Yama's seal trembled violently. What was going on? Before the first wave subsided, another wave rose. He hurriedly entered the Yama's seal with his divine sense. In an instant, he was stunned as if he had seen the most unbelievable thing in the world. After Tanzhong was sucked into the Yama's seal, his soul didn't dissipate. He discovered that he had entered an empty space. This space was similar to a sumeru pouch, but it was bigger. However, it still couldn't be compared to a storage dharma treasure like the Sumeru world. In this empty space, he couldn't find a way to escape, so he could only wander around. Suddenly, an earth-shattering power came from all directions, as if it wanted to crush his soul into pieces. He was shocked, but he didn't panic. He made a prompt decision and used the sky-swallowing technique. A black hole miraculously appeared in front of him. He was overjoyed that he could use the sky-swallowing technique smoothly in this space. This space contained an extremely tyrannical amount of yin qi. As soon as the black hole appeared, the yin qi poured in like a flood breaking through a dam. In an instant, the yin qi decreased rapidly, and even the space became unstable. The pressure on Tanzhong was greatly reduced. He had no other choice. Seeing that this method was very effective, he continued to use the sky-swallowing technique to absorb the yin qi without stopping. As time passed, the king of the netherworld's attention was completely attracted by Dizang of Goguryeo. He didn't have time to care about what was happening in the Yama's seal. Finally, the balance of the yin qi in the Yama's seal was broken. The Yama's seal was the most powerful dharma treasure of the kings of hell. The yin qi was the most important. When the balance of the yin qi was broken, the Yama's seal's power decreased sharply. The Yama's seal seemed to be in danger of shattering, so it started to tremble violently. The Netherworld King just so happened to see this scene. When his divine sense extended in and was prepared to investigate, he shockingly discovered that Tanzhong was safe and sound. What made him even more terrified was that the Yama's seal was in imminent danger. What did you do? The king of the Netherworld's angry questioning voice rang out in the Yama's seal. Tanzhong raised his head and looked around. He said casually, "You sucked me in and wanted to kill me. Of course, I wanted to save my life. Why can you damage my Yama's seal?" The Yama's seal was the key to the Netherworld's ghostly art. Without the Yama's seal, his Netherworld's ghostly art was like a castle in the air. It looked good, but he couldn't use it at all. The Yama's seal's power had decreased a lot, so his Netherworld's ghostly art would be greatly affected. Haha. Tanzhong laughed coldly. So what if your Yama's seal is strong? I have the sky-swallowing technique to restrain you. You can continue to lock me up. I'm not in a hurry. However, your Yama's seal will definitely turn into scrap metal in the end. Tanzhong gradually figured out from the king of the Netherworld's reaction that the sky-swallowing technique not only had a special restraining effect on ghosts, but also had a miraculous effect on the Yama's seal. This made him overjoyed. The second half of the sky-swallowing technique that he found in the Langya Pavilion was really a priceless treasure. If it wasn't for the powerful effect of the sky-swallowing technique, his trip to the ghost realm would have been doomed. The king of the Netherworld was angry and anxious. He hurriedly used his divine ability in an attempt to kill Tang Zheng and make his soul scatter. Endless Yin Qi attacked Tang Zheng. Once the Yin Qi invaded his body, his soul would definitely be destroyed. However, Tang Zheng was not afraid in the slightest. He only activated the swallowing heavens technique step by step, and that mighty Yin Qi was actually unable to get close to him at all. It was completely sucked in by the black hole in front of him. As a result, the more Yin Qi the king of the netherworld mobilized, the greater the damage to the Yama's seal. This was completely unexpected to the king of the netherworld. The king of the netherworld let out a deafening roar. This was clearly bullying. Although Tang Zheng's cultivation was worlds apart from the king of the netherworlds, he had the sky-swallowing technique, a unique divine ability that defied the natural order. He could dominate the world with one move, and it actually made the king of the netherworld feel helpless. The king of the netherworld was really going crazy. He watched helplessly as the quality of the Yama's seal fell from a sage artifact to a heaven-grade artifact. His heart was bleeding. "I won't let you have your way," the king of the netherworld roared crazily. With a thought, Tang Zheng was expelled from the Yama's seal. With a flash of light, Tang Zheng found himself back in the ghost realm. He did not run away. Instead, he took advantage of the situation and pounced forward. Since the Yama's seal could not hurt him, he might as well strike while the iron was hot. He wanted to see if there could be further developments. Whoosh whoosh. The sky-swallowing technique still had a unique effect. The black hole was aimed at the Yama's seal, and the ferocious suction force firmly enveloped the Yama's seal. "What are you doing now?" The king of the netherworld widened his eyes in horror as he watched the Yama's seal slowly approaching the black hole. No matter how he activated the Yama's seal, it could not completely get rid of the suction force. How can this be? The king of the netherworld originally thought that everything would be fine once he released Tang Zheng. He did not expect the situation to become worse. The suction force of the black hole firmly locked onto the Yama's seal, and he could not do anything. He could not help but think of the ghosts that were sucked away by his netherworld ghostly technique. Everything seemed to be predestined. This was karma. "I don't believe that I can't suppress you with my skills." The king of the netherworld gave up on the Yama's seal and attacked Tang Zheng directly. With a wave of his hand, a huge palm slammed toward Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng did not have time to look around. He could only watch as the king of the netherworld's palm slammed down. Moreover, he really did not have much ability to resist the king of the netherworld's attack. "Stop!" The Dizong of Goguryeo saw this from afar and shouted in shock. Whoosh! The demon-vanquishing staff turned into a golden light and flew over, hitting the huge palm hard. Bang! The king of the netherworld's palm broke and turned into wisps of Yin Qi. In the blink of an eye, they were sucked away by the black hole. "No!" The king of the netherworld roared in pain and staggered backward. He hugged his broken arm and bared his teeth, glaring at the Dizong of Goguryeo who was flying over. "Dizong of Goguryeo, I'm going to kill you." The king of the netherworld roared like a madman. "King of the netherworld, are you still so stubborn?" The Dizong of Goguryeo sighed faintly and asked, "Put away your bewitching words. Why would I, the king of the netherworld, listen to your bewitching words?" The king of the netherworld was furious. "Sigh, if that's the case, then go with the wind and return peace to the world of spirits and souls." The Dizong of Goguryeo said, "It's not that easy to kill me." The king of the netherworld roared. While the two of them were facing each other, Tang Zheng activated the sky-swallowing technique. The suction force of the black hole increased greatly. With a flash of light, the Yama's seal disappeared and was sucked into the black hole. "No!" The king of the netherworld screamed and quickly turned his head, but he realized that it was too late. Chapter 978. The black hole trembled violently, and a huge change was taking place. Tang Zheng realized something, and he hurriedly activated the sky-swallowing technique. Waves of strange energy reverberated around the black hole. "What have you done?" The Lord of the Underworld was furious. "Give me back my Yama's seal." Now that the Yama's seal had disappeared, his underworld ghost technique had completely lost its effect. This drastic move had caused him to fall into a hopeless situation. How could he not be furious? He did not care about his injuries, nor did he care about the Dizong of Goguryeo, who was glaring at him from the side. His face was extremely ferocious, and his body flashed with a black light. In the next second, he appeared in front of Tang Zheng and grabbed Tang Zheng's body with all his might, wanting to cut him into pieces. It seemed that this was the only way he could vent the anger in his heart. Tang Zheng's mind was completely focused on the sky-swallowing technique. Moreover, the Lord of the Underworld was too fast, and he could not dodge at all. He could only watch as the Lord of the Underworld grabbed him. "Give me back my Yama's seal." The Lord of the Underworld roared at the top of his lungs as he tore at Tang Zheng with all his might. The immense pain made Tang Zheng frown, and he instinctively grabbed the Lord of the Underworld. Boom! The black hole in midair let out a loud explosion, and the airflow in all directions flowed toward it. The suction force was more than a few times stronger than before, and the aura of heaven and earth changed. The sky-swallowing technique was automatically activated under Tang Zheng's body. 2 more suction forces were generated from Tang Zheng's palms, and they firmly locked onto the Lord of the Underworld. The Lord of the Underworld's power flowed into Tang Zheng's palms like a flood. The Lord of the Underworld's cultivation was extremely terrifying, and he was equivalent to a 9th-stage soul formation cultivator. Therefore, his power was simply too great. Although it happened in an instant, a lot of power flowed into Tang Zheng's body. This was the effect of the 2nd stage of the sky-swallowing technique. Tang Zheng rarely used this ability because the power he absorbed was ultimately an external power. Although it could temporarily increase his cultivation, it was not a long-term solution. However, at that moment, in order to save his life, he couldn't care less. Since he could absorb the Netherworld King's power, he would not let go of this rare opportunity. Absorption. Tang Zheng's eyes were as bright as the stars as he frantically absorbed the King of the Underworld's power. At that moment, he was like a balloon, and the King of the Underworld's power was like hydrogen gas, filling Tang Zheng's 8 extraordinary meridians and internal organs with this power. However, he still didn't dare to stop for even a moment. In an instant, the Underworld King's cultivation actually dropped by 1 stage, becoming the 8th stage of the Divine Transformation realm. This caused the King of the Netherworld to almost go crazy. Not only had his magic treasure been taken away, even the power that he had painstakingly cultivated had been sucked away. Was there any justice in this world? He really had a feeling of speechlessness and was asking the heavens, "Get out of my way." The King of the Netherworld roared and surged all the power in his body. A majestic force directly shook off Tang Zheng's palms. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would not be able to break free from Tang Zheng's sky-swallowing technique. However, the King of the Netherworld risked his life and finally shook off Tang Zheng with this attack. The King of the Netherworld hurriedly retreated, not even caring about the Yama's seal. Even in his dreams, he had never thought that this insignificant human would have such a divine ability. He had never heard of it before, and it made him tremble with fear. This did not mean that Tang Zheng was very powerful. The most important thing was that the King of the Netherworld took the initiative to grab onto Tang Zheng in a moment of desperation. Tang Zheng had been constantly using the sky-swallowing technique, so naturally, his power was sucked away. This was mainly because of the strange effect of the sky-swallowing technique. It was not that Tang Zheng's cultivation could really hurt the King of the Netherworld. The King of the Netherworld was not aware of this. He was gradually frightened by Tang Zheng's mystical methods until his heart trembled. When Dizong of Goguryeo saw this scene, he had mixed feelings and was very glad. The person chosen by the heavenly axiom was indeed not an ordinary person. His cultivation seemed to be weak, but he had unexpected divine abilities. Even the King of the Netherworld was at a disadvantage because of a moment of carelessness. However, Dizong of Goguryeo would not give the King of the Netherworld another chance to attack. In a flash, he stood in front of Tang Zheng to protect him. Without saying a word, he directly struck the King of the Netherworld with the devil-vanquishing staff. The King of the Netherworld raised his only arm to block, but with a bang, his only arm also exploded. The devil-vanquishing staff landed on his head. Golden light shone brightly and completely enveloped him. Roar! The king of the netherworld kept roaring and struggling, but it was to no avail. The golden light became brighter and brighter, seeping into every part of his body. Squeak! Light smoke rose from the king of the netherworld's body. The king of the netherworld was collapsing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Suddenly, streaks of golden scriptures flew out from the devil-vanquishing staff and covered the king of the netherworld's body. The golden light reached an extremely bright and dazzling point. Boom! With a loud explosion, the king of the netherworld exploded and disappeared without a trace. The golden light disappeared, and everything returned to normal. The king of the netherworld had been scheming and secretly accumulating for so many years. However, he failed at the last moment. He was still defeated by Dezong of Goguryeo. Because of this, the Dezong of Goguryeo became a Buddha earlier. Dezong of Goguryeo put his palms together and chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra. His solemn voice reverberated in the surroundings, and everything returned to normal. However, a furious roar broke the silence. The Asura actually stood up again. Without the king of the netherworld's control, the Asura was on the verge of going berserk. Any living being within his field of vision would become his target. Now, he was a killing machine. Therefore, although Shura had suffered a lot at the hands of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and both of his shoulders were almost broken, he still rushed over without fear of death, ruthlessly slashing the Shura saber at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Dezong of Goguryeo looked at the Asura and said, "The king of the netherworld is dead. Then, you can go with him." He waved the devil-vanquishing staff. This time, it hit the Asura's head directly. Half of his head was almost flattened, but he still did not die. Instead, he kept roaring at the Dezong of Goguryeo and bared his teeth. The golden light firmly wrapped around the Asura, but the Asura did not stop struggling. After a while, the Asura did not explode like the king of the netherworld and disappear into thin air. The Asura has an immortal body? Dezong of Goguryeo's expression changed slightly. Only then did he realize how terrifying the Asura was. The Asura's combat power was definitely not as strong as the Dezong of Goguryeo. However, the Dezong of Goguryeo could not kill the Asura. This was equivalent to the Asura having an immortal body. This was something that the Dezong of Goguryeo had never thought of. Even the legends of the Asura did not mention this point. The Asura was an existence that was more powerful than the legends. If he was not controlled and continued to kill, the world of spirits and souls would probably be wiped out by him in the end. Dezong of Goguryeo's expression was solemn. His mind was full of thoughts. Suddenly, he muttered to himself, "If that's the case, then I'll keep you. However, your ferocious nature is hard to tame. I'll give you the Vajra devil-vanquishing staff." Dezong of Goguryeo pointed at the Asura, and a golden halo flew out from his fingertip. The Asura kept struggling, but he was firmly locked in by the golden light of the devil-vanquishing staff. All his resistance was futile. The golden halo flew to the top of the Asura's head and steadily landed on the top of the Asura's head. The golden light shone and turned into a golden halo, fusing seamlessly with the top of the Asura's head. Furthermore, he had been demoted to the 8th rank of the Divine Transformation Realm. Although he had only been demoted from the 9th rank of the Divine Transformation Realm to the 8th rank of the Divine Transformation Realm, the difference of 1 rank was already shocking enough. Therefore, it seemed reasonable that Tang Zheng had absorbed so much power and advanced by 3 ranks. In the end, this kind of shortcut is not very beneficial to cultivation. I still have to advise him to take it one step at a time. Steadily and surely, this is the correct path of cultivation. Dezong of Goguryeo's fiery golden eyes were not fooled by the alluring appearance of the sky-swallowing technique. Instead, he was able to see the drawbacks of it at a glance. However, this is also his opportunity. Others would not be able to obtain this kind of opportunity even if they wanted to. It's just that it's better to use this method less often. Dezong of Goguryeo was not a stubborn person. He did not completely reject the sky-swallowing technique. Dezong of Goguryeo looked at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. He saw that Tang Zheng's eyes were tightly shut. It was obvious that he had yet to recover from his cultivation advancement. Dizong of Goguryeo did not disturb him. He only quietly watched as a spectator. Suddenly, Chapter 979. Dizong of Goguryo's expression changed drastically because he saw a strange phenomenon on Tang Zheng's face. Black lines snaked up from his neck like little earthworms. They crawled all the way to his cheeks and to the top of his head, making his face look somewhat sinister. This is the ruthless aura of the Lord of the Underworld's power. Dizong of Goguryo's fiery golden eyes immediately recognized it. Tang Zheng absorbed the Lord of the Underworld's power. Not only did he absorb the essence, but he also absorbed the dregs. The Lord of the Underworld lost his nature because he was infected by the ruthless aura of the Yin Qi in the 18 levels of hell. This ruthless aura was transmitted to Tang Zheng, so he might also lose his nature. Dizong of Goguryeo was shocked. If Tang Zheng lost his nature, wouldn't the heavenly Tao's decree be useless? Of course, he couldn't sit by and do nothing. He shouted loudly, and when the Buddhist voice entered his ears, it was as if he was enlightened. Tang Zheng's body shook, and he opened his eyes. His eyes flickered with a black aura. Obviously, he was already affected. Tang Zheng, listen to me carefully. You absorbed the Lord of the Underworld's power, and you also took the dregs. If you don't control them, you will lose your nature and become a person like the Lord of the Underworld, who willfully kills the innocent. I will now teach you the Kshitigarbha Sutra. The Kshitigarbha Sutra can suppress this ruthless aura. Dizong of Goguryeo said in a deep voice. The Kshitigarbha Sutra. Tang Zheng was shocked. His current situation was indeed not good. His power had risen by 3 levels, but the side effects that came with it were torturous. He realized that he had been too naive. The Lord of the Underworld's power was not that easy to absorb. Just as he was at a loss, Dizong of Goguryo's actions were really timely, and it greatly improved his impression of him. Dizong of Goguryeo was not only benevolent, but also generous to help him. He remembered this friendship in his heart. He did not stand on ceremony and immediately nodded to express his thanks. Dizong of Goguryeo immediately imparted the Kshitigarbha Sutra to him. He recited a sutra that turned into huge golden Sanskrit characters that flew above Tang Zheng's head. With a flash of golden light, they entered his brain and were deeply imprinted in his mind. Tang Zheng suddenly found that there was an ancient scripture in his mind. Although every word of the scripture was in Sanskrit, he could understand the profound great Tao in it without any difficulty. Subconsciously, he began to chant. Although no golden Sanskrit words flew out of his mouth, the black aura in his eyes gradually dissipated, and his eyes returned to normal. The Kshitigarbha Sutra can help you subdue demons and devils. You need to recite it every day, and you will definitely have a deeper understanding of it, Dizong of Goguryeo advised. Tang Zheng had seen the power of the Kshitigarbha Sutra and knew that this was an extremely powerful technique. He sincerely bowed to Dizong of Goguryeo to express his gratitude. Dizong of Goguryeo slightly nodded and said with gratification, "Your comprehension is excellent. I believe that the Kshitigarbha Sutra will be of great use in your hands." After a pause, Dizong of Goguryeo suddenly asked, "What was that technique you used before? It could actually resist the Netherworld King's Netherworld Ghost technique?" Tang Zheng answered truthfully, "This technique is called the Sky Swallowing Technique. I obtained it by accident. Just now, I absorbed the Yama Seal, and the Yama Seal merged with the Sky Swallowing Technique, greatly increasing the power of the Sky Swallowing Technique." This was a situation that Tang Zheng did not expect. After the Yama Seal was sucked into the black hole, it did not disappear without a trace like other things. It actually merged with the black hole. This made Tang Zheng very surprised. It was precisely because of this that his sky-swallowing technique actually leaped, crossing the soul-devouring stage and entering the mountain-moving realm. The so-called mountain-moving realm meant that the sky-swallowing technique was enough to move a large mountain. The attraction of the sky-swallowing technique had increased by many times. However, this power was too great. He had no way to test it and really move a large mountain. Dizong of Goguryeo nodded and said, "This is your opportunity. The Yama seal is the keepsake of the great Yama kings. It is also very important to the ghost realm. Your sky-swallowing technique merged with the Yama seal. Perhaps there will be unexpected changes in the future." Unexpected changes? Tangjing opened his eyes wide. Even though Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's understanding of the swallowing the heavens technique was limited, he had fiery eyes of truth. Tang Jinghao did not doubt his judgment, so when he heard these words, his curiosity was piqued. As for what changes it will be, you will have to slowly experience it yourself in the future. However, I still have a question that has been lingering in my heart. If I don't ask, I will not be able to let it go. Dizong of Goguryeo said again, "What doubt? You are clearly a living person. How can you appear in the ghost realm safe and sound and not be affected by the yin qi?" The Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was probably not the only one who had this question. Song Jiangwang and even the Netherworld King, who had vanished into thin air, also had this question because this was too illogical. Because I have the 9-yang saint body, I am not affected by the yin qi. Tang Zhang still did not hide it. He had a natural trust in Dizong of Goguryeo. He felt that the other party would not harm him. This kind of trust was mysterious, and he could not explain it in a short period of time. 9-yang saint body? Dizong of Goguryeo softly muttered these 4 words. "I once inadvertently heard of this body. It seems to be a very rare body in the human world. I never thought that I would be able to see it with my own eyes. It is fortunate." After all, the ghost realm and the human world were separated by yin and yang. The human world did not know much about the ghost realm, and the ghost realm knew very little about the human world. Very few people in the human world had heard of the 9-yang saint body. Dizong of Goguryeo had actually heard of this body. This was enough to show that he was very knowledgeable. Perhaps this is the reason why the heavens chose you. You are a 1-in-a-million candidate. Other than you, no one else can come to the ghost realm. It is even more impossible for them to do such an earth-shattering feat, Dizong of Goguryeo sincerely praised. Hearing this, Tang Zhang could not help but blush with shame. He quickly said that he was ashamed. "Don't be modest. If it was not for you, perhaps the situation would be completely different. In short, the ghost realm owes you a favor." Dizong of Goguryeo solemnly said. Tang Zhang's heart moved. Since the Dizong of Goguryeo owed him a favor, then could he discuss this mission with him? However, this mission was to protect the Tree of Life. Absorbing the ghost realm's source of energy was a matter that harmed the ghost realm. He did not know how the Dizong of Goguryeo would react. However, when he recalled what he had said about karma, Tang Zhang felt a bit more confident. If it was really according to his karma, then wouldn't it be the ghost realm that took it from the human world? Returning it now was a matter of course. Dizong of Goguryeo faintly glanced at him. Seeing that he did not speak, he guessed his thoughts and said, "I already have a general understanding of the purpose of your trip. You have done a favor for the ghost realm, so I will make the decision for you." Tang Zhang was ecstatic. He did not expect the Dizong of Goguryeo to be so broad-minded. But suddenly, the Dizong of Goguryeo changed the topic. "You also need to understand that the ghost realm and the human world are 2 interdependent worlds. The annihilation and disappearance of one is a fatal blow to the other. So, although the human world can be upgraded to a big world, it can't be drained and let the ghost realm cut off its vitality." Previously, Tang Zhang listened to the Dizong of Goguryeo's explanation and was enlightened. He understood the importance of the 2 worlds to each other. If the ghost realm disappeared completely, then the ghosts of human beings would have no place to go after death. They would become wandering ghosts in the human world, and there would be no new human reincarnation. In time, human beings would also perish. In the end, the human world could not escape the danger of extinction. Tang Zhang was not a ruthless person. After understanding the stakes, of course, he would not stubbornly want to absorb the source energy of the ghost realm. He nodded in understanding and solemnly promised, "Dizong of Goguryeo, please rest assured. I am not an unreasonable person. As long as the human world is restored to a big world, then everything in the past will be forgotten. In fact, After witnessing the strength of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, he gradually understood the strength of the world of spirits and souls. If he persisted in his foolish ways and the two worlds fought each other, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious in the end. Since the Dizang of Goguryeo was willing to uphold justice, this was the most favorable situation for him. The Dizang of Goguryeo nodded with relief. I passed on the Ksitigarbha Sutra to you. Perhaps this is the true purpose of the will of the heavenly Tao. I have a premonition that you will go very far. Thank you for the compliment. For this sentence, Tanzheng did not feel much. Who knew what would happen in the future? The key was to do everything in front of him well. Roar. Suddenly, a roar interrupted the conversation between the two. The Shura woke up again and was extremely violent. The Dizang of Goguryeo was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he said to Tanzheng, I put the Vajra demon subduing ring on the Shura. You can recite the Ksitigarbha Sutra without any distractions. See what effect it has. Tanzheng was quiet in his own world and did not see the scene where the Dizang of Goguryeo dealt with the Shura. Seeing the Shura was so violent and directly rushing towards him, he quickly restrained the panic in his heart. According to the Dizang of Goguryeo's words, he calmed himself down and recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra without any distractions. There were still no golden Sanskrit words flying out of his mouth, but a clear voice floated out and flew to the Shura's side. The Shura's movements suddenly froze, but he did not stop immediately. He only slowed down his pace. The Shura blade fell from the sky and slashed towards Tanzheng's head. Tanzheng saw the blade, but he still did not dodge. Since the Dizang of Goguryeo asked him to focus, then he could not be distracted and continue to recite the Ksitigarbha Sutra. The Shura's movements became slower and slower, but the Shura blade hanging above his head was still very scary. If it was someone else, they would have been scared and hurriedly dodged. However, Tanzheng was as steady as a rock. This made the Dizang of Goguryeo secretly nod in his heart, secretly praising Tanzheng's courage. He actually believed his words without any doubt. At that time, the Dizang of Goguryeo was even more fond of Tanzheng, feeling that he was his fated person. If it were not for him, he was afraid that he would not have become a Buddha so quickly, and the crisis in the world of spirits and souls would not have been solved so smoothly. The Shura blade stopped, almost touching Tanzheng's hair. Chapter 980. Tanzheng's eyes lit up. He raised his head and stared at the Shura who had calmed down. He was surprised. The Ksitigarbha Sutra actually had such a miraculous effect. Comma. Dizang of Goguryeo looked at him approvingly and explained, the Ksitigarbha Sutra and the Vajra demon subduing ring complement each other. When their effects are superimposed, they can play a huge role in suppressing the Shura and calming him down. Tanzheng secretly nodded and stared at the Shura who was close at hand. The Shura was no different from an ordinary person. However, instead of eyeballs, there were two balls of lightning in his eyes. They were as black as ink and kept jumping. Could it be that every time the Shura goes crazy in the future, I have to chant the Ksitigarbha Sutra to suppress him? Tanzheng asked curiously. Dizang of Goguryeo nodded. At present, the Shura's strength is very strong and the ruthlessness in his heart is too strong. Therefore, in a very short time, he will break through the imprisonment of the Ksitigarbha Sutra and the Vajra demon subduing ring. We have to be on guard against him at all times. Once we discover that he shows signs of recovery, we have to chant the Ksitigarbha Sutra to suppress him. Tanzheng suddenly understood and sighed. This is really a troublesome matter. How is it troublesome to save the world? Dizang of Goguryeo said indifferently. Hearing this, Tanzheng felt ashamed and gave a thumbs up. Admirable. Suddenly, Dizang of Goguryeo had an idea. Why don't I keep the Shura by your side and you can convert him at all times? This is also a good thing. What do you think? Keep the Shura by my side? Tanzheng was shocked. This matter was really beyond his expectations. Compared to the Shura, the difference between his cultivation and the Shura was like heaven and earth. Wasn't this nonsense? Dizang of Goguryeo's expression was calm as he looked at Tanzheng without blinking. He was actually serious. Dizong of Goguryu's action had a deep meaning. This was because once Azura was by Tang Zheng's side, he would have to chant the Ksitigarbha Sutra to Azura from time to time to suppress him. In time, Tang Zheng's understanding of the Ksitigarbha Sutra would definitely be extraordinary. Dizong of Goguryo had great confidence in the Ksitigarbha Sutra that he had comprehended. He believed that once Tang Zheng recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day and felt the profound dharma in it, then Tang Zheng would definitely be like him, becoming a compassionate person who would help others. This was the quality that Dizong of Goguryo valued the most. Therefore, he had really put in a lot of effort for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng didn't know the reason, but he was shocked by Dizong of Goguryo's suggestion. He asked blankly, "Dizong of Goguryo, the Shura's strength is too strong. If you keep him by my side, isn't it like keeping a tiger or wolf by a sheep's side?" He was really too afraid of the Shura. This guy was a killing machine. If one day he couldn't suppress the Shura, then wouldn't he be in danger of being cut into pieces by the Shura? Dizong of Goguryo laughed and explained, "You don't have to worry. The Ksitigarbha Sutra has an undeniable effect on the Shura. Once you become more proficient in the Ksitigarbha Sutra, it will become easier to suppress him. You succeeded the first time, so it's impossible for you to fail in the future. You don't have to be afraid." Seeing Dizong of Goguryo make such a solemn vow, Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Is this really necessary?" Dizong of Goguryo nodded. "I have too many things to do next, so it's impossible for me to take care of him all the time. If I'm careless, it'll be too bad for him to be seriously affected." "Tang Zheng, do you think I have the time?" Looking at the statue-like Shura in front of him, Tang Zheng couldn't refuse, so he simply made up his mind. "Since you want to give him to me, if I keep refusing, wouldn't I become a joke? Okay, I promise you, I'll keep him. However, to be on the safe side, I can't keep him alive by my side. I'll put him into Sumeru world." Tang Zheng compromised. Dizong of Goguryo didn't care. As long as Tang Zheng kept him, then he had to suppress him. Naturally, he would need to recite the Ksitigarbha Sutra often. Over time, Tang Zheng's familiarity and recognition of the Ksitigarbha Sutra would be extraordinary. Dizong of Goguryo revealed an unfathomable smile as if relieved of a heavy burden. "Do as you wish as long as you keep him." Tang Zheng waved his hand, and a ball of light burst out from his wrist. The Shura disappeared and was put into Sumeru world. "Good magic treasure." Dizong of Goguryo praised sincerely. A magic treasure that could store the Shura was definitely not simple. It was definitely a heaven-grade magic treasure. Tang Zheng seemed to be an ordinary person, but in fact, he had many unexpected magical powers and magic treasures. Although you've taken the Shura, you have to remember my advice. If you don't suppress him in time, then he may break through your storage magic treasure. At that time, you won't be able to guard against it. Dizong of Goguryo instructed, "Understood, please rest assured. Once the Shura makes the slightest move, I'll use the Ksitigarbha Sutra to suppress him. I won't let him harm the world." Tang Zheng patted his chest confidently. Dizong of Goguryo nodded with gratification. His eyes looked into the distance and said, "This battle is huge. I'm afraid that after the ghost world was affected, it's already in chaos. Let's go out first." Since Dizong of Goguryo made the decision, then Tang Zheng didn't have to worry about the other kings of hell. He didn't have to worry about the lords of hell agreeing. Dizong of Goguryo's steps were like lotuses. Every step he took seemed to be a step, but the distance was very far. His speed was extremely fast. Tang Zheng stepped on the War Soul Sword and flew with the Imperial Sword. He and Dizong of Goguryo flew into the distance. Looking down from the sky, the 9 Serenities Hell seemed to have experienced a nuclear explosion. It was a mess. Dizong of Goguryo suddenly sighed faintly. Although the 9 Serenities Hell no longer exists, the price we paid this time is quite high. Without destruction, there can be no construction. You don't have to care too much about it. Tang Zheng advised. All of this is the cycle of cause and effect. Dizong of Goguryo shook his head. If the ghost world didn't absorb the origin energy of the human world, there wouldn't be the 18 levels of hell. The 9 Serenities hell would still be a paradise suitable for cultivation. Naturally, there wouldn't be this scene now. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Perhaps the 10 kings of hell never dreamed that there would be such a day. This might really be the cycle of cause and effect. Hey, look over there. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's eyes widened in surprise as he pointed at the ruins below. Chakra City. Dizong of Goguryeo glanced and blurted out. Tang Zheng frowned. The last time he came to the ghost world, the first city he arrived at was Chakra City. It was from here that he arrived at Fengdu City through the teleportation array. Looking at the ruins now, he couldn't help but sigh. It's a sin, a sin. Dizong of Goguryeo put his palms together and lowered his head. He chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra. One by one, the Sanskrit scriptures flew towards the ruins to expiate the souls of the dead. Wherever they passed, it became peaceful. Countless souls were sacrificed in Chakra City. All of this was indirectly related to Dizong of Goguryeo. One could imagine how heavy his heart was. Since Chakra City has been destroyed, let's go directly to Fengdu City. Dizong of Goguryeo finished expiating the souls of the dead. The ghost world is vast. If we fly like this, we don't know how long it will take to reach Fengdu City. Tang Zheng was worried. Dizong of Goguryeo smiled. Of course we will go to Fengdu City through the teleportation array. Teleportation array? Tang Zheng lowered his head and looked at the ruins below. He couldn't see the original appearance at all. The teleportation array was long gone. How could it be teleported to Fengdu City? The teleportation array has been destroyed. Most of the teleportation array has been destroyed, but it can be rearranged. Ksitigarbha waved his arm downwards, and the originally scattered ruins began to move. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere, revealing the huge square floor. The ruins in all directions were actually combined together by a strange force. After a while, Tang Zheng discovered that there was a square below. It was exactly the same as the teleportation array square he saw before. The ruins were gone. Realization dawned upon him, and he realized that he had been too foolish to have thought of this. However, when he saw this teleportation array, he became excited. If he knew this kind of teleportation array, he could easily come and go as he wished if he could set up a teleportation array between the mainland and the island in the future. Wouldn't that solve many of his problems? The family was happy and harmonious. This was definitely a good thing for his grandfather. At this point, he no longer cared about being reserved and asked directly, Dizong of Goguryeo, may I ask if you can teach me the method of setting up the teleportation array? Of course, this is not a difficult spell. With your talent, you can learn it in a short time. Dizong of Goguryeo explained the various methods of setting up the teleportation array to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng memorized each and every one of them and compared them to the teleportation array below. Soon, he understood most of it. Let's go. Dizong of Goguryeo activated the teleportation array. With a flash of light, he disappeared. After they disappeared, the Chakravarti king flew over from afar. He was stunned and muttered to himself, Dizong of Goguryeo has left the 9 Serenities hell and reappeared in the world of spirits and souls. He subconsciously recalled Dizong of Goguryeo's demeanor and methods. To his despair, he realized that Dizong of Goguryeo's skills had improved by leaps and bounds. The world of spirits and souls will no longer have peace. I am now a loner. The other kings of hell must be waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Now that Dizong of Goguryeo has reappeared in the world of spirits and souls, let's see if they still have the time to laugh at me. He could not help but feel lucky. If it was not for Dizong of Goguryeo, he would have been the target of ridicule for a long time. The Chakravarti king thought about it and recalled the person beside Dizong of Goguryeo. Strange, this was a living person. He had seen a living person before, but that person had fallen into the river Styx and his soul had long dissipated. However, the Chakravarti king still remembered the magical equipment used by that person, especially that set of bow and arrows. The king of hell had only obtained one arrow and kept it like a treasure. No one could take a second look at it. The Chakravarti king wished that he could have such a magical equipment. That way, his combat power would definitely soar. Why would Dizong of Goguryeo be with a living person? There must be something fishy. The Chakravarti king's eyes turned solemn. He squinted his eyes like a sly old fox. They must have left in such a hurry. Something big must have happened. If I don't catch up with them, wouldn't it be a huge loss? Chapter 981. In Fengdu City, the teleportation array suddenly lit up. With a flash, two figures appeared out of thin air. Tang Zheng and Dizong of Goguryeo, the two of them, did not disguise themselves. When they appeared, they immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding ghost messengers. They shouted, "Who are you?" Tang Zheng's life force was too strong. They were attracted by him at first glance. Dizong of Goguryeo's aura was even more unforgettable. In short, this combination was too eye-catching. They were immediately surrounded by a large number of ghost messengers. The two of them did not take their hostility seriously. Dizong of Goguryeo said casually, "Take me to see King Yama. How dare you? Is King Yama someone you can meet just because you want to?" The ghost messengers shouted. They did not know Dizong of Goguryeo. Dizong of Goguryeo was not angry. He looked at Tang Zheng and said calmly, "Let's go there ourselves." "Okay." Tang Zheng nodded and agreed. He and Dizong of Goguryeo walked out. "Stop!" The ghost messengers shouted angrily. But to the two of them, these angry shouts were like the crying of a baby. They were not threatening at all. A majestic force quietly spread out from Dizong of Goguryeo. The ghost messengers retreated to both sides like the tide. They watched as the two of them walked past them and strode toward King Yama's hall. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. But it caused an uproar among the ghost messengers. The news of the intruders spread like wildfire. King Yama had just returned to his palace. Before he could sit down, he heard a subordinate report that there were intruders. He stood up in shock. This was too much. They actually dared to cause trouble in his territory. Did they not put him, the Lord of the Ghost Realm, in their eyes? However, he was also a little anxious. Who could the intruders be? Could it be guests from the Nine Serenities Hell? The Nine Serenities Hell erupted with such a huge battle. Who exactly was fighting whom? One question after another jumped around in the Yama King's heart, giving him a headache. All of a sudden, a commotion rang out from outside the palace. The Yama King's heart trembled. He understood that the intruders must have barged in. So many of his guards actually failed to stop them. Only after they barged into the palace did they cause such a huge commotion. From this, one could see how powerful these intruders were. He walked to the door and happened to meet two intruders. Instantly, their eyes met. King Yinluo's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed, "Dizong of Goguryeo, why are you here?" Dizong of Goguryeo clasped his hands together. "King Yinluo, we meet again after so many years. How did you leave the Nine Serenities Hell? Didn't you make a heavy oath?" Dizong of Goguryeo asked in shock. "Until hell is empty, I vow not to become a Buddha. Now that hell is empty, I naturally came out." Hell is empty? How is that possible? King Yinluo was very clear about the situation in the Nine Serenities Hell. There were as many vengeful spirits as there were hairs on an ox. How could they be completely converted so quickly? King Yinluo didn't believe it at all. He coldly snorted, "Dizong of Goguryeo, you went back on your words and violated the oath you made." Seeing King Yinluo being so aggressive, Tang Zheng couldn't help but interject, "King Yinluo, on what basis are you accusing Dizong of Goguryeo of going back on his words?" "Let me tell you, he is telling the truth." In the ghost realm, except for Dizong of Goguryeo and the other kings of hell, no one dared to speak to King Yinluo like this. King Yinluo raised his thick eyebrows and flew into a rage. "Who are you? How dare you shout in front of me?" Huh. Suddenly, King Yinluo saw Tang Zheng clearly and was shocked. "You are a human. How did another human come out of the ghost realm?" He had truly become a frightened bird. Back then, that human had caused him to lose a lot of face and caused a storm. That was why he had such a big reaction to the appearance of a living person in the ghost realm. "King Yinluo, don't you remember me? We meet again." With Dizong of Goguryeo by his side, Tang Zheng directly revealed his identity. King Yinluo was stunned for a moment. He stared straight at Tang Zheng. then suddenly reacted and shouted, "It's you! It's actually you! You didn't die? How is this possible? You fell into the river Styx. How could you not die?" This time, King Yinluo was truly frightened, because this had completely overturned his worldview. Even if he fell into the river Styx himself, he wouldn't be able to survive. This living person was actually able to escape from death. He could no longer find the words to describe it. "You know each other?" Dizong of Goguryeo asked curiously. "Not long ago, I met King Yinluo once. I left one of my magic treasures with him. I believe King Yinluo should have kept it. Now, it should be returned to its rightful owner." Tang Zhang revealed his identity in order to retrieve the shooting sun arrow that he had lost. Once he retrieved this shooting sun arrow, he would have collected 9 shooting sun arrows, which could be considered as fulfilling one of his wishes. King Yinluo's heart tightened and said, "Nonsense, why would I want your thing? It must have been lost in some corner long ago." In fact, King Yinluo had already studied the shooting sun arrow and understood that it was a rare magic treasure. He had always kept it in his heart. How could he return it to its rightful owner? Seeing his intense reaction, Tang Zhang was instead certain that the shooting sun arrow must be in his hands. So he said, "King Yinluo, as the head of the 10 kings of hell, your lying ability is not very good, far worse than King Songjiang." "You have met King Songjiang?" "Yes, King Songjiang went to the 9 Serenities hell, so he must have met you." "Is he plotting some scheme again?" King Yinluo asked as if he was facing a great enemy. "I don't know what King Songjiang is thinking. I only want my shooting sun arrow back." "Humph, what if I don't give it to you?" Since his thoughts were seen through, King Yinluo no longer denied it and instead arrogantly asked. Back then, he was able to force Tang Zhang to jump into the river Styx, so he was still confident that he could deal with him now. Moreover, he wouldn't let him escape so easily. Tang Zhang didn't say anything, but Dizong of Goguryeo had already taken the initiative. "King Yinluo, you are the head of the 10 kings of hell. What is the meaning of bullying a junior?" King Yinluo's heart trembled and said, "Dizong of Goguryeo, could it be that you want to stand up for him? He is a human." "So what if he is a human? All living beings are equal." "Dizong of Goguryeo, this is Fengdu City, the Yama Palace. If you want to stand up for a human, aren't you looking down on my Fengdu City too much?" King Yinluo suppressed his anger and berated. Dizong of Goguryeo was unmoved and said indifferently, "What we want is not just a magic treasure. This time, we specially came to find you for the Tree of Life." "Tree of Life? You actually want to become enemies with the entire ghost realm for a human?" King Yinluo came to a realization and immediately flew into a rage. "The cycle of karma. What you took from the human world back then, it is time to return today." "Nonsense. There is no reason to return something that has fallen into my hands." "Is that so? Since that is the case, then we can only take it ourselves." Dizong of Goguryeo was very clear that Tang Zhang was not a match for King Yinluo, so he took the initiative to attack. The subduing devil staff flashed and struck towards King Yinluo. King Yinluo roared and took out the Yama seal. With a bang, King Yinluo flew back and crashed into the wall of the main hall, leaving a dent in the wall. "King Yinluo, don't be stubborn," Dizong of Goguryeo advised. King Yinluo's heart beat wildly. In these years, his strength had improved a lot, but he was not a match for the Dizong of Goguryeo. However, he was not prepared to admit defeat. With a roar, the Yama seal expanded and broke through the main hall. Like a mountain, it pressed towards the Dizong of Goguryeo. Dizong of Goguryeo shook his head, stubborn. "You are asking for humiliation." The subduing devil staff lightly waved upwards and blocked the Yama seal. The mountain-like Yama seal could no longer descend. No matter how King Yinluo urged his strength, the Yama seal did not move at all. Instead, it flashed and quickly shrunk. King Yinluo turned pale with fright. He wanted to take back the Yama seal, but he found that a large hand had already grasped the Yama seal firmly in the palm of his hand. The Yama seal fell into the hands of the Dizong of Goguryeo. King Yinluo's eyes were about to split open, but there was nothing he could do. He felt a deep sense of powerlessness. He glared at the Dizong of Goguryeo and Tang Zheng with resentment, gnashing his teeth. Dizong of Goguryeo, you are helping outsiders. This is making the entire ghost realm your enemy. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because your cultivation is high. Dizong of Goguryeo shook his head. I have never bullied others with strength. As for Tang Zheng's request, it is a reasonable request. Humans and the ghost realm rely on each other for survival. Why must we fight to the death? Since ancient times, the two worlds have been living in harmony. Ever since you guys absorbed the energy of the human world, the ghost realm has been in trouble. Even the 9 underworlds has been turned from a holy land of cultivation to hell. This is the punishment of the heavenly Tao. Don't you know? Humph. Don't talk about these nonsensical things. I will not be bewitched by you. King Yanluo stubbornly stretched his neck. Suddenly, his eyes lit up when he saw someone walking in from outside the palace. He was overjoyed and shouted, Chakravarti King, you are here. Let's work together to take down the Dizong of Goguryeo. We will make sure that this traitor of the ghost realm has no place to stay. Chakravarti King's expression was very ugly. He had seen the battle just now and knew that even if he joined forces, they might not be a match for the Dizong of Goguryeo. Moreover, if he did this, he would be paving the way for King Yanluo. There was no benefit for him. He had already become a loner. Even his city and people no longer existed. He could not help but feel disheartened. Seeing that Chakravarti King was indifferent, King Yanluo was furious. Chakravarti King, are you also going to collude with the Dizong of Goguryeo and betray the ghost realm? King Yanluo, you keep saying that you have betrayed the ghost realm. In fact, you are the sinner of the ghost realm. If you had not agreed to King Songjiang's idea to absorb the energy of the human world, this would not have happened. Put down the butcher's knife. Everything is over. Dizong of Goguryeo advised. Haha, put down the butcher's knife? Why should I put it down? Dizong of Goguryeo, even if I die, don't think that I will listen to you. King Yanluo laughed maniacally. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, a few figures suddenly flew in from outside the palace. They were the remaining 8 kings of hell. King Yanluo's eyes lit up as he was overjoyed. Dizong of Goguryeo, you should be the one listening to me now. You are already surrounded. Let's see how you are going to act arrogantly. Chapter 982. The 10 kings of hell blocked the entrance of the main hall, surrounding Dizong of Goguryeo and Tang Zheng. However, after hearing King Yanluo's words, the other kings of hell didn't react with righteous indignation. Instead, they looked at Dizong of Goguryeo and Tang Zheng apprehensively, their eyes filled with thought-provoking expressions. Especially Dizong of Goguryeo, who attracted most of the attention. It turned out that Song Jiangwang had already been caught by the other kings of hell outside and asked clearly. Regarding what happened in the 9 Serenities Hell, these kings of hell already had a rough understanding of it. They couldn't help but be deeply shocked by Dizong of Goguryeo's strength. At the same time, a deep sense of powerlessness was born, so naturally, they didn't dare to act rashly. Now that they saw King Yanluo unable to resist Dizong of Goguryeo, they were flustered and exasperated. How could they still listen to King Yanluo's instigation and become enemies with Dizong of Goguryeo? Seeing that everyone was indifferent, King Yanluo was stunned for a moment, then flew into a rage. What are you all doing? Dizong of Goguryeo betrayed the ghost realm and colluded with this human. The evidence is conclusive. We must get rid of him as soon as possible. Song Jiangwang stood out and said, King Yanluo, back then you instigated everyone to become enemies with Dizong of Goguryeo and trapped Dizong of Goguryeo in the 9 Serenities Hell. Now you're still bewitching people like this. Do you think everyone will still listen to your bewitchment? Song Jiangwang had already thought it through very clearly. Even if he joined forces with the 10 Kings of Hell, he might not be a match for Dizong of Goguryeo. Therefore, it was better not to stubbornly persist in going down the wrong path and become enemies with Dizong of Goguryeo. His current plan was to win the favor of Dizong of Goguryeo and take advantage of the fact that King Yanluo was still in the dark to ruthlessly suppress him and weaken his prestige. As for Dizong of Goguryeo's objective, Song Jiangwang was still unclear. However, He had already made up his mind to stand firmly on King Yinluo's side. Hearing Song Jiangwang's words, King Yama's eyes widened in disbelief. Although the two of them had fought openly and secretly in the past, Song Jiangwang still didn't dare to confront him so recklessly. Could it be that Song Jiangwang had also colluded with Dizong of Goguryeo? King Yama was shocked by this judgment. Song Jiangwang was already a huge threat to him. Now that he had a strong ally like King Yinluo, he was no longer a match for them. No wonder Song Jiangwang was so fearless. King Yama thought that he had instantly understood the cause and effect, and his expression was extremely ugly. Do you all listen to Song Jiangwang? Seeing that the other kings of hell didn't say a word, King Yama asked indignantly. A few kings of hell who were familiar with King Yama hesitated for a moment before advising, King Yama, don't be angry. This matter needs further consideration. How could Dizong of Goguryeo betray the ghost realm? Don't you think so? King Yama didn't buy this kind of behavior. Instead, he was furious. These guys usually flattered him, but at this critical moment, they actually dropped the ball. This was a blatant betrayal. As the head of the 10 Kings of Hell, King Yama usually kept his word. Other than Song Jiangwang, who occasionally challenged his dignity, no one else dared to. Now, these Kings of Hell actually obeyed him. How could he not be angry? You guys are doing this on purpose, right? Good, very good. This is Fengdu City's Yama Palace, my territory. I have the final say. You guys want to take advantage of your numbers to deal with me? You guys are too naive. King Yama had already lost his mind. Song Jiangwang's lips curled into a smug smile. King Yama's thoughts and shrewdness were not as deep as his. After being provoked and squeezed, he was finally about to explode. King Yama roared and launched an attack. However, he didn't attack Dizong of Goguryeo. Instead, he attacked Tangzhong. Tangzhong was the root of all the problems. Moreover, he had let him escape last time, causing King Yama to lose face. Therefore, he wanted to take the opportunity to kill Tangzhong. No one expected that he would sneak attack Tangzhong as King Yama. Even the Dizong of Goguryeo and Tangzhong didn't expect this. Seeing King Yama's attack in front of him, Tangzhong finally reacted as if he had woken up from a dream. Looking at the opponent's attack that was sure to succeed, Tangzhong understood that with his strength, if he fought against it, only death would await him. Most likely, even the Dizong of Goguryeo wouldn't be able to save him. However, he didn't sit still and wait for death. Instead, a meaningful smile appeared on his face. With a thought, a figure appeared in front of him, blocking King Yama's attack. Bang! King Yama struck his opponent. However, his opponent only staggered a few steps back. He didn't fall, nor did he suffer any serious injuries. Instead, as if enraged, he roared toward the sky. A large saber descended from the sky, fiercely slashing towards King Yama. This disruptor was naturally the Azura. Tangzhong knew that he wouldn't be able to block King Yama's attack. Coincidentally, he sensed that the Azura in Sumeru world was about to break through the suppression. Thus, he directly released Sumeru world, blocking King Yama's attack. The Azura had an undying body. Although King Yama's attack was very fierce, it couldn't kill him. Instead, it completely enraged him. Hua! The Azura's saber was extremely ferocious. With a single slash, it severed one of King Yama's arms. Even King Yama himself didn't have time to react. This was because the Azura's attack was too fierce and sharp. The other kings of hell were also shocked by this scene. In the blink of an eye, King Yama had lost an arm. This was too inconceivable. Who was this guy? How could he have such powerful battle prowess? He was clearly summoned by that human. How could this human have such a mystical power? In fact, even Song Jiangwang's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. This was because when he left, the Netherworld King hadn't summoned the Azura yet. Thus, he didn't recognize the Azura. However, when he saw the Azura's attack just now, Song Jiangwang already knew how powerful it was. More importantly, where did Tangzhong find such a powerful ally? During the previous battle, why didn't Tangzhong summon such a powerful ally? One question after another circled in Song Jiangwang's mind, causing him to be at a loss. Dizong of Goguryeo initially wanted to stop him, but he stopped at the last moment. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's ability to adapt to the situation was at the peak of perfection. If he hadn't summoned the Azura, then even if he resisted, he would definitely have suffered a great loss. However, now that he was unscathed, he resolved this crisis. This courage and adaptability made Dizong of Goguryeo praise him endlessly. Everyone was attracted by the battle between the Azura and King Yama. No one dared to interfere. In fact, they didn't even dare to breathe too heavily, afraid that they would miss the exciting part. King Yama sucked in a breath of cold air as he cursed angrily. "What the hell is this?" "Azura," Tang Zhang said softly. However, these two words were like a clap of thunder that exploded among the kings of hell. Azuras were legendary existences. Who would have thought that they would be controlled by a mere human? The shock and horror in their hearts was unimaginable. Dizong of Goguryeo also guessed everyone's thoughts, but he didn't point out the origin of the Azura. Tang Zheng didn't care about what the others were thinking. He only paid attention to the Azura. After seeing that he didn't stop after cutting off King Yama's arm, he chased after him. The Azura blade directly slashed towards King Yama's head, as if he wanted to split him in half. King Yama couldn't care less about the pain and the monstrous anger in his heart. He took advantage of the momentum and rolled, miserably dodging the attack. Bang! The Azura blade slashed the floor, and a crack spread in all directions. A huge ravine appeared in the Yama Palace. Merely a single strike possessed such might, and it caused the hearts of the other kings of hell to tremble like cicadas in winter. They subconsciously switched places with the king of hell, and they couldn't help but notice with sorrow that they were probably unable to dodge that strike from before and were directly slashed into two. This conclusion made them feel a deep sense of helplessness, but they still stared at the Azura with wide eyes, wanting to know more about him. King Yama fled in a sorry state like a stray dog. From left to right, from bottom to top, there was no place to hide in this huge palace, and there was no safe place to protect him. He was completely exposed to the Azura's pursuit. "King Yama, now do you agree to return my shooting sun arrows to me?" Tang Zheng calmly asked. No. King Yanluo gasped for breath and said. Tang Zheng didn't mind. He faintly smiled and said, "Fine, I'm not in a hurry. However, if you die later, then don't blame me for not warning you." King Yama gnashed his teeth in hatred, but he couldn't do anything about Tang Zheng's words. He really couldn't understand why the Azura would listen to the words of a human. However, he didn't know that if he hadn't attacked the Azura earlier, the Azura's attention would have been attracted by others, and he wouldn't have been chasing after him like this. King Yama almost died under the Azura's blade several times. Although he was lucky enough to survive, there were many more wounds on his body. It was a ghastly sight. The hearts of the other kings of hell trembled as they saw this. They directly listed Tang Zheng as one of the most dangerous people. Later on, if Tang Zheng had any requests, as long as it didn't endanger their lives, they shouldn't act recklessly. Otherwise, the King Yama's fate would be a lesson for them. Tang Zheng didn't know that his unintentional action had such an effect. He stared at King Yama without blinking. Suddenly, the blade flashed and one of King Yama's legs flew up. The Azura's attack was fast, accurate, and directly removed the leg. King Yama immediately staggered and fell to the ground, unable to escape the Azura's attack. Whoosh! The Azura's blade came crashing down, as if it wanted to chop off King Yama's head. King Yama screamed in fright. Facing death, he finally couldn't maintain his calm and dignity. His reaction was similar to that of an ordinary person. Suddenly, the sound of chanting scriptures rang in his ears. The Azura's blade actually stopped above his head, as if his head wouldn't be saved if it went any lower. King Yama raised his head in shock. He looked at the Azura's blade that was inches away from him, and then looked at the Azura's face that gradually turned from malevolent to calm. A storm rose in his heart. Even in his dreams, he couldn't figure out what was going on. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.